The offense, though, did not carry their weight, and Mike McCarthy successfully was able to wear down his own defense, and that showed in the second half as the Eagles pulled away and the Cowboys kept throwing up the football.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. So everything you said was, we talked about it in our halftime show, the Jim Beam halftime show, that the margin of error is really, really, really small for this Dallas Cowboys. And for a half, they were able to kind of hang in there. The turnover, though, with Ezekiel Elliott, the chances, you had a couple different chances, with some fumbles, and then, you kind of had your situations as well. I think the defense probably played as well as they could. You're right about that in the second half. All of a sudden, it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and now your defense is just completely wore down and really no shot to kind of hold you in it. You had some turnovers in the second half yourself. But this football team, it can't have penalties. It can't have turnovers, and it really just, without Dak Prescott at quarterback, just struggles to even get the ball, down the field. Last week in the Atlanta game, at least we saw Cooper Rush pushing the ball down the field. Mm-hmm. His game today was none of that. There was none of pushing the ball down the field, and give Philadelphia some credit. We talked about going in all week. Their secondary, especially at the cornerback spot, was pretty good. But they had some opportunities. CeeDee Lamb goes vertical. Ball goes, he's got Slay beat. Ball hits Slay in the back, just not far enough down the field. And, it's unfortunate. And we saw a little bit of Trey Lance. And, we'll see what that's going to be like going forward now.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys ran more plays on offense than Cooper Rush had passing yards. He was 13 of 23 for 45 yards. Trey Lance then came into the game, went 4 of 6, 21 yards, did have the interception. Cowboys 5 turnovers as a team today. You had the Zeke fumble, Ferguson fumble, Cooper Rush just drops the football and then falls on it, and Milton Williams comes in and says, no, I want that ball more. You did have the Trey Lance, who actually did try to throw the football down the field.
Yeah, he tried to take a shot. Yeah.
I mean, the statistics receiving are just abysmal. 4 for 24 for Fergie, 6 of 21 on 10 targets for CeeDee Lamb, 3 of 14 for Jalen Tolbert. Look, Rico Dowdle had 50 yards rushing in the first half. He finishes with 12 for 53. They didn't get a single first down on offense after the Zeke fumble until Trey Lance's first series on offense that then resulted in the Jake Ferguson fumble on the very next play. That's how bad this offense was today. And if you're a defender, you got to be looking across like, guys, what do you want me to do? Yeah. I mean, I understand the second half, the defense was just worn down, and they totally were able to give up. And the drive right before the half, sure. But this defense did everything you could have possibly asked for in the first half. Your head coach is an offensive guy, and he's won with backup quarterbacks before. I believe he was 9-4 coming into this one.
He's won with this backup quarterback before.
They averaged 2.6 yards a play. It was, I mean, if this isn't rock bottom, I don't know what it looks like. Maybe they were already there. But this was embarrassing and shameful, and the offense was just absolutely disgusting to watch.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And then you talk about where the offensive line, you still have some of the same problems. We'll see tomorrow. We'll watch Awesome Richards. I felt like there was more problems on the right side with Steele than with Awesome Richards on the left side. So film will kind of show us, tell us the story tomorrow, and we'll talk about it and break it all down. But, for having to jump in there and make a start, I thought, overall, our Awesome Richards kind of held his own there. It just continues to be some problems at the right tackle spot, and I just there's just nothing. There was just nothing going down the field, and maybe that's by design. There were a lot of passes, a lot of call routes at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. Nothing. On third down. And they got into some third down and that weren't manageable. Yeah. The 3rd and 9s and things like that. So yeah, it was a bad day for the play caller. Bad day for the backup quarterback today. Bad day for the receivers as far as getting some. They're getting a lot of targets, but not getting any results out of that. And like I said, the bright spot out of that was I felt like that they could run the ball a little bit with Rico Dowdle, and they did in the first half, but just couldn't. The game just got away from him, and once it gets away from him, they're not going to be able to handle that.
Coach McCarthy talking at the podium now. We'll hear from him momentarily. There's about 4 reporters in there, Bryan. It looks like you've got Tim Kalishaw, Clarence Hill, Tommy Yarish, David Moore in there.
Yeah.
I would assume that would then mean that the owner and general manager, Jerry Jones, probably speaking as well, where everybody else will be. So I'm sure we'll hear from Jerry after this. The Cowboys did make some changes. It just seemed like it was a little too late. Kalen Carson, who, look, we're both on the draft show.
Yep.
The tape that we're seeing from Kalen Carson as a rookie is night and day, really, from what we saw of him in college.
He's not playing with a whole heck of a lot of confidence right now.
Not at all. And he's not getting helped a lot. Late in the game, they decide to go with Izzy Mukwamu, who comes in, certainly played a little bit better. And then it seemed like, okay, they're going to make the switch to Trey Lance. He comes in for a play. Then Cooper Rush comes back in. Then they decide to actually go with Trey Lance in the fourth quarter. But it was just... it just, today's game was kind of a microcosm of where you almost feel like this organization is. They're just a step behind. They're a decision too late with everything. And now it seems like everything they touch just kind of goes to bleep. And now you're 3-6. You saw the division games ahead of you. That was the one saving grace. Maybe you can make up some ground in the division by beating Philadelphia at home. For a while, they were hanging in thanks to the defense. Yeah. But ultimately, they're just a bad football team. And people that want to talk about tanking, I don't believe in tanking in the NFL. But we've talked about this. This team doesn't have to tank.
They don't have to.
This team will naturally just find ways to lose games.
Yeah, they will find a way to, they'll play some close games. They will then, maybe get blown out like we saw. Good football teams. The Saints in week 2, I don't think were a great football team, but here at home, it seems like everybody gets double-digit leads. The Ravens, you look at what the Eagles were able to do today, and they just put you in a bad spot. But yeah, you don't have to worry about tanking. Your team naturally is in such a bad spot that just go out and play, and it's probably not going to be good enough like we had happen today. It's unfortunate for the. I don't know if the defense could have held on in the second half, but boy, they sure needed some help from the offense, and they got absolutely nothing from the offense. They get a 3-and-out to start the second half. We were worried about the double dipping, coming back, and they were able to, get a 3-and-out, get the ball back, and the next thing you know, it's just boom, give it right back. And at that point, it was just really, really pretty much over there.
Yeah, the second half, 3-and-out punt, fumble, interception, punt. It was pretty bad. For lack of better words. There's a lot of words, probably a lot of 4-letter words you could say there. 34-6 was the final. Eagles over your Cowboys. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text, 877-881-1053. Here on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching as we hang out here in the Miller Lite Field Club. Zach Wolchuk alongside Bryan Broaddus. Certainly, the season's going this way, but a very frustrating defeat against a rival that you hate losing to. I said this on the flagship on our show in the afternoon, Brian G-Bag. Like, if I could pick 2 wins, I knew the Cowboys were only going to get 2 wins. Yeah. It would be against this team in Philadelphia. I can't stand them. And now you've got an infiltration of Eagle fans here in the Miller Lite Field Club, and they're having a party afterwards because they've actually got a darn good football team over there.
Yeah, they've done a nice job. And there's some things that they're clearly, them and the Commanders, again, that'll be a great game, I think, on Thursday night. It's a shame it's going to be on a short week, but that's what you do with these division opponents. They try and give everybody the opportunity to kind of maybe if it's on a short week, hey, we have some familiarity, but it's a 2-team race now in this division. Dallas and the Giants are clearly not going to get it done this year, and the Commanders playing very well. Lost a tough one today. Philadelphia, and here's some bright spot for Philadelphia is they're in a game this week, like I say, short week, where all of a sudden they got to rest some of their players, where the Commanders had to play through the whole game. They had to try and finish and win that game, a tough loss for them. And Philadelphia caught a break by, with Dallas and their inability to make this a tough game today for them.
Shireen Williams, as Jerry is speaking to the media right now, saying Jerry Jones won't make a coaching change during the season, is what Jerry said. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can't win games by having 5 turnovers. That's clear. I think that today you look at how bad the offense was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't fight you if you said you needed to make a coaching change. But at the same time, I don't know that that's really going to do anything for you.
Yeah, this is where maybe he's not going to make a staff change, but maybe Brian Schottenheimer needs to call the plays now. Maybe Mike needs to focus on other things with the team. I don't know. I'm kind of just throwing that out there. If you're not going to change the coach, and I don't think it does you any good. You and I just said this. This team is not good enough.
Yeah.
So if you're not good enough, making a coaching change. Now, we did say the Saints make a coaching change.
We did.
And they got a win
today.
They got a win against Atlanta, who got you last week. So I just don't, like I said, I don't think, Jerry, that's something that he's not going to do. But I would surely look at maybe having a situation where Brian Schottenheimer takes over as the primary play caller.
Yeah, something's got to be done with the offense. I mean, when it's 3rd and 9 and you're literally passing for 1 yard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's madness.
Well, there were 3 straight. I think there were 5 straight plays or 4 plays, and they'd thrown the ball for 5 yards.
Yeah.
So that, that's on it's on the quarterback, it's on the blocking, it's on the receiver. It's that's it. But you think about it, just the ball is just not going down the field, and when it doesn't go down the field like that, it's hard to make plays. It's hard to make It's hard to make first downs to kind of keep the drives going and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. You're on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. We will, of course, hear from Jerry. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy. We'll also get Brad, Sham, and Bobby Belt in on this. We got more from ESPN Research. The 49 passing yards for the Cowboys, fewest in a game since the 2001 season opener against the Bucs, when the Cowboys had 28 passing yards.
I was kind of thinking there was
game.
a game against then Brad and Babe were talking about. We played in Tennessee on a Christmas night that was really
yes.
That was a Anthony Wright game, and we were supposed to go in the game with Randall Cunningham, and he spit the bit, and then all of a sudden Anthony Wright had to start, and that was really it for us that night.
The big positive, I think, from this one today was clearly DeMarvion Overshown, who started the game, I think, in midway through the second quarter. He had 8 tackles and 2 sacks. Now, he did get injured with that knee. Calvin Watkins said he saw him going into the locker room. He had a slight limp, a little bit of blood on that knee. So hopefully moving forward, everything's okay for DeMarvion Overshown. Because if you're looking for, all right, where are positives in this season, that man, he certainly is one.
He is. And, last year we kind of saw that, though, in the preseason. If you remember, 6 plays, 3 tackles. That Overshown is that type of a player. He's explosive. He can finish. Unfortunately, they had the touchdown right before the half where he was on the rush and he missed Hurts. He could have, with no timeouts, you get that tackle. Maybe it's going to be, maybe they scramble their field goal team on, but it's 3 points and not 7. But, if that's the only real fault for him that in this game, so be it. But man, he closes quickly, he finishes well, and and that's the type of player you're getting there.
All right, we've got a lot more coming up in the post-game show. We'll hear from you, 877-881-1053, and we will, of course, get whoever the quarterback is that takes the podium.
I would say that Cooper Rush is probably going to speak.
Probably
to you
Cooper Rush, Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, and your calls and texts. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Every moment, every touchdown, every yard is a reason to celebrate. If anyone knows that, Ciroc does. From the tailgate to the touchdown, Ciroc Ultra Premium Vodka makes game day a smooth one. And with flavors that never fumble, man, game day is an instant win. Touchdown! This is Ciroc, made from fine French grapes, made for football. Get Ciroc and Ciroc Vodka Spritz during the next Cowboys game. Please drink responsibly. Ciroc Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume, imported from France by Diageo, New York, New York.
People will always come and go in our lives, but we all know those few who never left. The ones who make you stronger, build you up when you're broken down. The partners who've always had you covered. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, we know what it means to be there, guiding you toward a healthier state of mind. Because the more we know as individuals, the healthier we all feel as a community through it all.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
Why do 89% of Cowboys players have a Sleep Number smart bed? Because they need a bed that adjusts to their individual shape, position, and temperature preferences to help boost recovery time. Sleep Number does that. Game-changing sleep is life-changing. And now, during our Veterans Day sale, save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed, exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
And we interrupt you with breaking news live from the Pepsi Wild Cherry aisle. Carol, can you hear us?
Steve, I've never seen anything like this. The bold, refreshing, and bursting with cherry deliciousness of Pepsi Wild Cherry is, well, let's just say everyone is getting wild.
Getting wild?
That's right, Steve. There's dancing, binge-watching, and is that a slip and slide? They're really putting the wild in Pepsi Wild Cherry, and this on-the-scene reporter can't wait to pop, lock, and drop it.
Pepsi Wild Cherry. Go ahead. Get wild.
Hey Dallas Cowboys fans, hope y'all are ready for game day. We all know a car accident can put anyone on the sidelines. The law boss, Michael Uvalli, is here to help get you back on your feet and yelling, "Go Cowboys!" So, if you've been injured in a car accident, don't wait, call now. Our team is available 24/7 to take your call at 1-800-LAW-BOSS. That's 1-800-LAWBOSS. The Law Boss, the official personal injury attorney sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Principal office, Dallas.
To be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Eagles 1st and 10, left to right at the 14 of Dallas, leading 7-6. Hurts in an empty gun. They blitz him. He just steps out of that tackle, lobs it in the end zone, caught by Goddard at the 1, and steps in for the touchdown.
Cowboys losing to the Eagles in another embarrassing fashion, 34-6. Eagles improved to 7-2. They're 4-1 on the road this year. Cowboys now fall to 0-4 at home. Last time they were 0-4 at home was 2010. That did result in a coaching change midseason when Wade Phillips was fired and Jason Garrett came in. We will hear from Jerry Jones here in just a little bit. Jerry, according to John Machota, saying that he has no interest in making a coaching change. He's fired coaches in season before, and he's regretted it every time. I don't know about how you can necessarily regret the Wade Phillips decision. I believe Jason Garrett went 5-3 down the stretch.
He sure did.
And he certainly ended up being the coach here for a decade. Now, obviously, that didn't result in the type of success that you wanted. But, I mean, saying that, okay, Wade Phillips went on and won a Super Bowl in Denver, he was a defensive coordinator. I think Wade, the proof is there. Wade's an outstanding defensive coordinator. He was a very average head coach. I'm not really sure where the regrets are, but that's how he feels. And it doesn't seem like there will be a change made now. I don't know if the words. I think the fan base now it's pretty hollow, and there's not a whole lot of reception now to whatever Jerry is saying. At least for me, that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that. I think the fan base is a smart fan base. I think they realize where this team is. I think they had hope today, maybe not a lot of hope, because you're not playing your starting quarterback. Your starting quarterback had not played great, but as a team, as an offense, you hadn't played great either. But, the way that the defense played in the first half, the way Micah and Overshown and those guys gave you a little chance, that was your hope. That was kind of how things, like, man, if they could just find a way. But offensively, and this has been, this is Mike McCarthy's area. Him, Mike Solari, the Brian Schottenheimer. This is their offense, and in the past they've won with Cooper Rush as a quarterback with the same kind of defensive effort. Mm-hmm. They have managed to kind of find some ways to make some plays, but it just hasn't been. It really hasn't been that way all year. They don't have explosive plays. The offense, there's nothing easy about the offense. So that's why me personally, and they don't give a damn what I think. The last time they cared about what I said was in 2005. But this is where I would, as Jerry Jones, the general manager, listen, Mike, I'm not interested in changing you out right now. But I'd like to see, do you feel like that maybe that Brian Schottenheimer could? And Mike, you might be at a point, too, where Jerry just lets this thing ride because Mike is, there's a lot of guys that don't have contracts after. And so do you want to force something on Mike McCarthy that's like, okay, I get it. I'm going to fire you, but now you're asking him to do something like to change the player. I would make the suggestion if I was Jerry.
Yeah.
It's Steven. I would make the suggestion, Will McClay, hey, do you think that maybe Bryan could give us a little bit something different? Because if you play Trey Lance, I think you kind of need to play like a college offense.
Yeah.
I think you need to play that RPO stuff and, and things like that, and maybe put some pressure on these teams, these defenses to have to defend you a little differently. Because right now, it's pretty easy. They can play light box. You're not going to run it. They can cover you down the field. The routes, there's no explosiveness to this offense. So, it's an easy thing anyway.
And I was listening to Brad and Babe as they were closing out before they threw it to us, and it was, everyone says, okay, you need to play. Like Trey Lance needs to play.
Yeah,
and he does. And I get their point of, well, Cooper Rush also needs to play. But what year is Cooper Rush in right now? When he's been in the NFL since 2016?
Yeah.
He's been with the team for 7-8 years. You kind of know what Cooper Rush is. There's a little bit of unknown there with Trey Lance. Both might not be an answer for you whatsoever, but I think there's much more unknown and stuff that you can learn from playing a guy like Trey Lance than what you have in Cooper Rush. And we'll hear from Cooper Rush. He did take the podium. We'll hear from him momentarily. But I would just disagree with the pushback of, hey, both guys need to play.
No.
I think Lance is the one that really does. He's got possibly a future left in the NFL. I think the league told you what they thought of Cooper Rush when he was a free agent after going 4-1, and nobody but the Raiders brought him in, and they didn't sign him, so you signed him back. He's a hell of an individual, great guy to have in the quarterback room, solid backup quarterback. Today was the worst we've ever seen him. But overall, I don't really get the argument of Rush or Lance, who do you need to see more? You need to see Trey Lance because at least he gives you the running element. Yes. He might not be any good. That's very, very possible. He comes out, he throws an interception today. I see the keyboard warriors saying, see, why were you why did you want to see this guy? He might stink. I don't think anybody's saying he's necessarily good, but at least he gives you the threat of his legs.
I think the element of him running or having the ability to run with the football, I think makes it so much better for opportunity. If you're going to struggle to get first downs and him running the ball or him, him having to play, I can say the college offense, we've seen teams that have their running quarterback. Heck, I saw it last night with LSU playing Alabama. Jalen Milroe. When you don't defend a running quarterback, you can find ways to
absolutely
to move the football effectively.
All right, we're about to catch up with the voice of your Cowboys, Brad Sham, here in just a moment. Let's get to the phones real quick. Get a call in here. Phones brought to you by Aristocrat. You just cheered for America's team on the field. Now see them on the reels. Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, now at a casino near you. Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And if you have a gambling problem, please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus. Let's go to Michael in California. Michael, what's going on, man?
Hey, Zach. Hey, Bryan. Hey, you don't think that this team has already quit? To me, it looks like they quit on the coach already, and at that point, that's when I think the coaching change was made.
No.
Bryan, one more. I'm sorry, excuse me.
No, I don't think they've quit. I think the
way that the defense played in the first half the defense, showed you they didn't quit.
They're just not good enough on offense. That's the biggest problem.
Hey, Brian, one more thing, if you don't mind. Also, Zach, too. Hey, I'm watching Genty, that running back at Boise.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between him and Jay Ajayi? I'm having a hard time looking past that. He reminds me of the same guy, and he didn't turn out well in the NFL. Excuse me, and thank you. Have a good night.
Well, Ajayi had a few really good years.
Bad knee
in
coming out
Miami,
of college,
and then moved. But it was the knee. I think he had a degenerative knee, actually.
He sure did.
So you knew he was going to have a shorter career.
He sure was.
Genty, a little more explosive, I would say. Ajayi, a much bigger back. Genty's 5'9", kind of more of that bowling ball frame, but I think certainly more explosive. And as a receiver, I think is a little bit better than what Ajayi was coming out. Both local Frisco kids,
Yeah,
though.
we're going to see a lot of running backs here from out in the draft here coming up.
All right, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
You're turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus, official post-game show of your Dallas Cowboys. Eagles get the win 34-6 as we're here at AT&T Stadium inside the Miller Lite Field Club. Brad Sham, the voice of your Cowboys, sitting down with us. And Brad, we were just talking about the quarterback, and I know you and Babe close talking about
we
Cooper
did a
Rush,
talk show there for
Trey,
half a quarter.
Hey, I enjoyed it. You know, that's what you kind of had to do with the way this one went. But what would you like to see maybe both play?
Yeah, in the short answer, Zach, is yes for me, and here's the reason why. We've seen Cooper Rush play in the past. This was not Cooper Rush. I don't know who the hell that was. And I understand everything that was disadvantageous, but I've never seen him play that badly. So I've got to make a decision over the next 8 weeks on whether I want to spend money on either of these two players as my backup quarterback. And I know I don't have enough information on Lance, and I believe that I now have nothing to lose. And but this is not who Cooper Rush is. I don't know who I'd start next week, but do I have 8 games left?
Yes.
I've got 8 games. Come on now.
I signed up for them all.
That's exactly right.
I did. I signed up for them all.
So you've got 8 games, and I don't know how I would divide the labor. I think that's for another day to figure out, but I absolutely want to see more of Rush because this was an aberration to me, and clearly you have to see a lot more of Lance.
Can I interest you in a play caller switch?
To?
Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I know I'm not going to change my coach. If I'm going to play both quarterbacks, if that's the plan, I'm personally interested in Lance just because selfishly, Brad, I'm trying to get a better compensatory pick.
I understand.
And if he plays better, maybe you could sign him, but if he plays really well, if someone goes, wow, you know what, this guy might be a guy that we kind of thought coming out of college. And all of a sudden he goes, I'm trying to get my 4 back somehow, some way.
In addition to which, all of that.
Yeah.
And if that means Schottenheimer calling the plays,
going to a college offense, Brad.
That's fine.
I'm just, I'm going to RPO this thing, and I'm going to kind of move around and
utilize his legs.
I'm going to make teams that, like, when the Cowboys play the Ravens, and I know that guy's an MVP quarterback over there, but the way he makes you defend the field, that's hard. But I know you don't have that type of personnel, but just the element of a running quarterback. Heck, I watched LSU last night get blasted by a guy who can't even throw the football at times.
Right.
But he runs it every single time, and, it's a 75-yard run. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to do something different than what we're doing right now.
Yeah, and I think also, I have great empathy for players.
I do too.
Well,
maybe not.
They make an incredible sacrifice.
Yeah.
They put in blood, sweat, and tears, and to not get any kind of reward, it's really, really cruel and difficult. Yeah, I know they're getting paid well. That's not the point. You go do it. I don't mean you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
But I did it one time, not very well.
So the point is, I think that you owe it to the players, as well as the people who are watching, to be competitive. That first half, if you give me that first half.
Couldn't play any better.
Now, you can't turn it over like that.
No, couldn't play any better on defense.
So give me the competitiveness of that first half.
They'll play hard.
On a regular basis for the rest of the way. And okay, because what happened in the second half, that's not okay.
We got wore down.
You can't. Yeah, you
got
can't
wore down on defense.
That's
Three
right.
and outs, 3 and outs, 3 and outs.
That's right. That's right. So that's another reason to try whatever you want to try on offense.
I think it's unfair to the defense, though. Tonight was unfair to the defense.
Sure was.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the defensive effort in the first half. I mean, Overshown, I thought, was brilliant. The difference, the impact that Micah Parsons had was very evident as well, specifically in the second quarter, the fumble that Maris Leofau was able to get. You talked with Coach before the game, and he had talked about the trend in the right direction defensively. I mean, that's something I think as we look at the final 8 games, that's got to be hopeful.
There's no question. And he said, since the bye, we've played better on defense. And the more players they get back, bless Kalen Carson's heart, and he will improve. And at some point, I think they'll get Deron Bland back. Maybe not.
That setback was bad.
But Diggs is Diggs. The interception is good for Diggs.
They're not going to throw at Diggs anymore.
I understand.
Not with 21 on the field. We were talking about it at half. If this game turned into back and forth, he was going to need help.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Something was going to have to,
No doubt.
But yeah.
No doubt. But you might have some pieces coming back. So I just want them to be competitive all the way around, and they've got to find a way for the offense to be part of that.
Yeah. Brad, I've been wanting to ask you this since Monday during the Cowboys Hour last week. You had Kavante Turpin on. How surprising was it when you found out about the eyesight? He was basically playing blind last year. Now he's got contact.
Not just last year. His life.
It's unreal.
He I brought it up during the game, and I told Babe during the week. He said, "What are you talking about?" And I don't understand how. So the guy would go back to catch a punt, and he'd look up into the sky, and as the ball started coming out of the sky, he could see the shape. He knew something was coming, but he couldn't see the ball. And when he caught it and looked upfield, he couldn't see any of the blocking lanes for me. He said, "Well, now I can see." He said, "It's amazing.
Or I can see the boundary.
I can read the defense.
He can see
I can
everything.
see the boundary.
He can see everything." That is one of the most shocking,
unbelievable,
ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Any final thoughts before we let you enjoy the rest of your night, Brad?
I think I don't know how they rally to put in a strong week of practice, and they, who knows? Maybe they play Houston a tough game next week. Who knows what'll happen?
Well, I'll tell you what, though, I don't think these guys will quit. But they need to figure out ways to help their defense if their defense is going to give an effort like that. Because they needed more than those field goals, and they didn't need about 7 3-and-outs.
Well,
in those
and
turnovers.
they haven't lost, was it 4 fumbles?
Yeah.
They haven't lost 4 fumbles in a game all year.
Yeah, it just seemed like listening to you guys in the broadcast, you're talking about something that happened in ancient history, that the last time this happened, 1964.
Right. Right.
I mean, you're like going, gosh.
Yeah, it was really, but you never know what you're going to see.
No.
So I think that, Zach, to answer your question, I think my takeaway would be you got to find a way to let this go.
Yeah.
Some guys getting paid a lot of money, you got to figure out how they want to handle the offense first next week, and then for the last 7 after that.
Yeah.
And then you've got to try to keep as positive an attitude as possible, so that you can just acquit yourselves reasonably.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Have a wonderful week.
You as well, sir. We'll talk to you on Monday night when Houston comes to town here to AT&T Stadium. The voice of your Cowboys, the great Brad Sham. We'll catch up with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. We'll also hear from Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons, DeMarvion Overshown. Your calls and texts as we rock with you until 9:30. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill your house this season with...
sauce. Try them at your local DFW Buffalo Wild Wings or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go.
First down now from the 42. Almost messed up the handoff. Lance pulls it back. The ball is caught by Ferguson and fumbled. Picked up by the Eagles and run down the left sideline by Blankenship.
Another embarrassing home defeat as the Cowboys fall to 3-6 to one of their biggest, maybe their biggest rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, 34-6. Eagles get the win. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus here at the Miller Lite Field Club. Brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at MOMHmuseum.org. And we'll also have our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt joining us here, brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And Bobby, I would just like to start off with one of your tweets and one of the things that stood out to you when you were talking with Jerry. I saw, Patrick Walker said, listening to CeeDee Lamb post-game, he said, I couldn't see the ball at all. The sun, in reference to his end zone drop that they then ended up having to settle for 3 on 4th and goal from the 5 after they got the ball back thanks to a Jalen Hurts fumble forced by Micah Parsons, recovered by Maris Leofau. CD says, would you be in favor of curtains? He said, yes, 1,000%. What was Jerry's reaction to the curtain talk?
His exact quote was, well, let's tear the damn stadium down, build another one. Are you kidding me? And then he said, somebody asked him about the sun. I said, what about the sun? Where's the moon? So that's Jerry's thought, is that it doesn't sound like he's too interested in doing anything about the sun or anything else. And he says, we know exactly where the sun's going to be when we have the coin toss. He's pointed out that everybody who comes into this stadium is playing against the same thing. It's not just them. And so that was kind of his thought on it. But it was a very, I don't know what the exact tone was. It's getting harder and harder, I feel like, to get a good read on, what version of Jerry you're seeing, whether it's angry Jerry and it's thinly veiled, or whether you're seeing a frustrated guy, or whether he's exasperated. But I think tonight it just felt like he definitely disappointed. He's just at a point where I think he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, was he proud of his defense? Did he make any points about talking about his defense and the way they played, at least for the first half?
I didn't hear anything specific to that when he was talking. A lot of what he was talking about was just the fact that, he took a lot of blame early on in his comments, and I know they've got him back at the studio, and you guys will play him at some point. But he makes a comment in there where he says, essentially that they weren't good enough and they haven't been good enough, and kind of shoulder some of it where he's like, I'm responsible for what we put out there.
Absolutely.
So I put them out there. And so he repeatedly said that he apologizes to the fans and he's sorry for the fans and he's sorry that this is what they put out there. But, yeah, it seems like he did mention he thought the offense was going to be much better than it was today, even with having to put Cooper Rush and Trey Lance in there. I think he was very surprised at how that went.
I'm surprised he thought it was going to be better without his starting quarterback in it. Yeah,
not better than it had been. Better
Just
than,
better than
like,
what
better
we
than
saw.
what they showed.
Well, it certainly was the worst version of Cooper Rush we've ever seen.
Yeah. That was pretty bad. I believe it was on his, how many completions did he have? 13, 14, something like that.
They ran more plays than he had passing yards.
Yeah, his completed air yards on 14 completions or whatever it was like 15 air yards.
Yeah.
It was there was nothing that they could complete down the field. This is a bad football team, and they don't have their quarterback, and that's kind of where things stand at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, to me, the reaction to the curtains is just the stubborn nature of how this thing's been run now for 30 damn years. You're taking points away from your own football team. Your top-paid receiver is saying, I'm in favor of curtains. I couldn't see the football in the end zone. It took away 6 points. Put damn curtains up. But you're too stubborn to do that. Just like you're too stubborn to make any changes when it comes to actually bringing in a general manager because you think you're the smartest football guy known to mankind. It's frustrating, it's annoying, and I think everything he's saying now, the fans are tuning out, and I feel for those players that have to listen to him go in there and talk afterwards.
Yeah, and I totally understand all of what you're saying there. I think that one of the things Jerry would probably say is, and I think we have heard him say, is not only just other teams have to come in here and play against this, but our guys should be better equipped. And so at that point, it could potentially be more advantageous. We have guys that are used to playing in this, and the other team has to come in here and deal with it. Just like the Bryan, the old crown of the stadium in Texas Stadium.
Yes.
Where it's like, you know what? Yeah, is that great for everybody? No, but our guys have played with it more often, so it's a tactical advantage.
The gust of winds at the old Meadowlands.
I think that's part of what they would say. And I would also say that, you can say that you feel bad for the players having to stand in there and hear it or whatever else. I think there's a counter to that to be said. You feel bad for Jerry having to stand up there and come up with all the different arguments for why this bad football team still has a shot and why these players who just are not very good at all have a shot. And guys, the guys that you do have that are good, playing way below where they've been in the past. But ultimately, that's an organizational-wide thing that everybody has to shoulder.
Well, I'll tell you, just me personally, after last week, Bobby, being on the road there in Atlanta and dealing with Zeke being inactive, I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is all kind of coming to a head right now. You've got bad football going on, and then, Ezekiel missing meetings or being late for meetings and just all the things that as a general manager you have to go through. And then you now say, okay, well, hey, bring him back. Everything's cool. Let's inactivate, Dalvin Cook, and let's give the ball. And, that was the first fumble that Zeke's ever had in his career down in there in the, the red zone. I mean, it's the first one he's ever had. But that's just, as a general manager, that's you on, hey, let's bring him back. Let's bring him back. Let's keep going. Let's keep, when there was really no reason to bring him back. You know what I'm saying? That, he should apologize to the fans for still having Ezekiel Elliott on this team. As a general manager, if you're looking for reasons to okay, and he was the main reason I believe that Zeke's here now. Mm-hmm. And maybe the main reason why they did not take a running back in the draft. Because they're like, we got Zeke here.
Yeah,
we got Zeke.
They made that deal right after draft weekend, right? So it was something where they knew, all right, this is our fail-safe.
They knew they were going to. They knew they were going to bring him in. So to me, but everything, a general manager would help his head coach and say, hey, I'm not. If he's late and having issues and all this, I'm moving on, and I'm going to help my head coach and do it that way. I think Mike McCarthy's looking at this like there's, hey, if you want to play Zeke, you're the general manager, play Zeke. But I look at things that Jerry kind of look at himself and say, decisions that he's made along the way has hurt this football team this year.
Yeah, I think that all that's fair. Look,
maybe Zeke should have been out there carrying the football after what we went through last
especially
week
after
with him.
Rico Dowdle's on pace for 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
He just had a 19-yard run on that drive. You take him out, and then they subbed Ezekiel Elliott in, and he rewarded you with a fumble at the 4-yard line.
Now, look, Rico Dowdle hasn't been great in the red zone
he
this year.
He fumbled against Pittsburgh.
He's been bad down there, so I understand that. But that can't be your solution, I don't think, is just, let's give it to Zeke. Look, I think there were a lot of problems. This was an awful day for Mike McCarthy.
I think it was an awful day for Jerry Jones.
Yeah, no, Jerry Jones too. But to me, it's
like Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy
that was a terrible game plan to run in there with.
Their offense just isn't good enough.
No, it's a historically bad offensive performance.
Bad at right tackle.
It was terrible. They take the ball to start the game. They punt again, 3 and out. Right. So now you set up the Eagles with the opportunity to score in and out of half. Fortunately, your defense tried. They didn't score coming out of half, and then you go 3 and out, fumble, 3 and out, interception. The offense was atrocious, and he is an offensive-minded guy. And I feel for a lot of those coaches, right? I mean, it's probably going to be a bunch of changes, and though they have families, and a lot of them are really, really good people, and it's tough to talk about from a personal level, but it's also a production-based business that they're in.
Yeah, and it's been
Mike
5
McCarthy's
years.
offense has not been good. They made a couple of tweaks coming out of the bye last week. Maybe that was all Dak Prescott. I don't know. We've heard a variety of different things. Nobody's got one consensus answer. But for whatever reason, that was a flash in the pan. And when they went up against good defenses, the offense couldn't do much.
I thought this quote was interesting from Jerry. He talked for maybe 6 minutes outside the locker, and then he starts walking to his car. And as you know, that'll go on for another 5 or 6 minutes with a smaller group that follows him to the elevator. But one of the things he said there, he said, there is, in my mind, a lot of accountability when the receiver is having trouble getting open or where there has to be accountability directed to somebody other than just the player. And so, I mean, I think at that point,
Well,
that's
he said in a which show did he say when he was talking about scheme?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he said design. He used. I'm sorry, I don't want to misquote him.
Like, paraphrasing, though, he used some synonym for scheme. Yes.
Yeah, he was talking about, and he said it on our station about talking about scheme.
It was with your show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that
he's not happy.
I don't think he's going to make a move in season.
No, but
No,
he
I
can.
don't
He
think
can.
so either.
He can
But I think
suggest,
his mind is made up for the end of the season.
But he can suggest to Mike, and it could be a hard suggest, but he could say, Mike, you need to step back and let me see if Brian Schottenheimer can call plays. That's a hard ask for somebody that's about to get fired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or his contract not be renewed.
No, 100%, and that's. But you know what? You are kind of in a spot now where it's been set up this way. That I'm sorry, that's the position you may get put in as you're fighting for your job. But you got to 3-6, under the circumstances of fighting for your job. And so I don't know. I mean, I think that one thing that made it clear to me today. I know he had an interception, and Trey Lance didn't look great either. But one of the things that I came away with watching Trey Lance and his ability to move around was I thought to myself, you probably have a more competitive chance today if Trey Lance is starting and you're just running read option all day.
100%. And Bryan has said exactly that. Go to a college-based offense. That's the one thing about Trey Lance is he gives you the threat with his legs. You need something right now.
Make defenses have to play against a college offense.
Yeah.
Make them have to defend. Because you know what happens? Teams aren't always disciplined. Teams are not always disciplined. We see what happens when you play the Ravens, and have to deal with that. And we used to see with that with the Eagles a little bit with Jalen Hurts when you had to deal with that. So that's the best chance for Trey Lance is to play that college RPO offense, and kind of maybe do something a little bit different to get you guys going.
The last question he got asked about in his availability, Jory Epstein from Yahoo had asked him, what goes into the criteria the rest of the way for you to say Mike having a successful season? Yeah. And he said that his criteria has always been the same, how we're playing, or my criteria has always been how we're playing, or do we have an edge fundamentally? Are we competitive? Are we competitive when we're down? Those kinds of things. Not as much, obviously, the score, but he says that's kind of what he looks for is competitiveness. Basically, fight is what it sounded like. And today, I don't know that I saw a team that quit, but I didn't see like a team that was out there.
He's really struggling at certain spots of his team. Yeah. He's struggling right now at left corner because he's got a rookie out there. He's struggling with right tackle, which he probably didn't think was going to happen.
Oh, and I want to throw a lot of praise out to Jake Ferguson. I know he had the fumble and he didn't make a huge difference, but that's one guy who I thought I saw deep in the fourth quarter. That guy was fighting for every yard he could.
Ferguson cares.
I think we're going to find it. Awesome Richards played okay in this game.
Richards looked good. I was talking to Big Nate Newton up in the press box, and he mentioned how he was impressed with how awesome
Nate
Richards
knows.
had looked. So,
yeah, the Steele stuff. Every game I come out thinking Steele was really bad.
I thought he was good last week.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing last week. Then I went back and watched the game on the All-22, and Steele wasn't that bad. Yeah. The pass. Now, granted, that's not a good pass rush against Atlanta. They still had some success.
He was better than a lot of the other guys you had in the offensive line.
But yeah, I thought Steele I didn't think was your big problem last week. Now maybe today it's a different result when we go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there felt like there were a lot of issues today outside of just were you protecting Cooper Rush. It felt like, you couldn't complete
I just didn't feel like Cooper Rush was interested in throwing the ball down the field.
No,
and I don't know if the design was for him to check it down or throw it 0 yards, and hope for run after catch.
0 for 6 on attempts 10 yards or more down the field.
There you go.
Well, I know underthrown footballs. It was it was pretty brutal. I mean, it really, really was. And I know. I mean, you said it was a bad day for Mike McCarthy. I agree. I do lean it was a worse day for Jerry, and I'm piling on right now, but it's true, and he deserves that right now. He was the one that decided to keep the coach after you get obliterated at home and embarrassed in front of everybody after the wild card game, and we're all looking at each other like, how can you bring Coach McCarthy back? I get you had 3 straight 12-win seasons. That's tough to do. Mike McCarthy's a winner. He's had a lot of success, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get you over the hump here. Hell, maybe nobody can. Because of Jerry.
Yeah.
That might be the case. We've seen that now for 30 years. But now you're sitting in it. Now you're laying in the bed that you've made. You shouldn't fire the coach probably because you wanted to bring him back. Let him ride it out. Go ahead.
Oh, he's going to let it ride him out.
A lot of the guys that you've decided to pay, they're not living up to those expectations either. We just talked about one in Terrence Steele that they gave a second contract to. Now, CeeDee Lamb, hey, he can't help it who's throwing him the football. but that's a guy who's not living up to that pay right now either. Micah is a guy that wants to get paid. Today, I think you saw a good second quarter. Probably needs some more from him,
Probably
too.
got wore down, too, like
Diggs
everybody
finally
else.
had a big interception for you. But that's something we've been talking about the last few weeks as well. The return on the investment, who they've decided to give second contracts to, who they haven't, guys that they've let walk. Hey, Dante Fowler Jr. is having a hell of a season with the Washington Commanders right now. He's got 8 sacks. He had 2 more today, 8.5, I believe. Followed his old defensive coordinator buddy Dan Quinn over there. So you wonder why
has been good.
Broaddus you got issues with your depth. A lot of it left, and a lot of it went to Washington, and now they're 7-3, and they're leading the division. So some of the decisions that this team's made, it all comes back to one person. If he wants to get the praise and GM of the year when things are good, he's going to have to take this right now when it's bad.
Yeah, I think that's all fair, and I think that's going to be his standard line the rest of this year too, though, is because he says the buck stops with him. I think he's going to talk about shouldering that, and that'll be his means of, all right, let's keep some of this off them while I figure out what I'm going to do.
Any final thoughts before we let you out of here, Bobby?
Just that I love you all.
We love you more. All right, there's Bobby Belt. We will hear from Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, more locker room audio, and we'll hear from you, your calls and texts. I know a lot of you have been waiting very, very patiently. We've had a lot moving on after this 34-6 loss to the Eagles. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he...
made for Cowboys watching. Buffalo Wild Wings. Ford, your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Pistol formation as the Cowboys start at the 20, coming left to right. Dowdle behind Rush, who bobbles the snap. Scrum for it. Eagles got it. Cooper Rush bobbled the snap, and Milton Williams, the defensive end, beat him to the ball.
That was a tough one. It just dropped it there for Cooper and then tried to dive on it, and Williams just wrestled it away for the Eagles, and the Eagles able to cash in afterwards. That was one of the 4 fumbles today. Total of 5 turnovers for the Cowboys in a 34-6 loss to the Eagles. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus here from the Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium. 877-881-1053. The number to call, the number to text. Appreciate everybody's patience there that has been waiting. But we do need to hear from your owner and general manager, Jerry Jones, who caught up with the media.
I'll answer your questions, but last 2 games here, we've had 5 turnovers each game. We played a team. It was a good team out there today. We've got some more of them to play, too. You can't win games turning the ball over 5 times. So that's what we've got.
Gary, is this as frustrating as you've been with the team in that situation?
Well, I'm just frustrated like everybody else is, but since I had a lot to do with what we're seeing, then it's the proper frustration as far as I'm concerned, that we're just not playing in a way, especially when you play a team that is the caliber of teams that we're playing out here. And Philadelphia is a high caliber team, and we're not up to them. And that's troubling. And we've got to look at all the things that have happened. But I'll just say this right now, 5 turnovers over the last 2 games. And I don't know what we're drinking in the third quarter as we come out, but it's not working.
Jerry, can you confirm that Dak will have season-ending surgery?
I won't know because we're still evaluating.
Do you still have hope for this season that things can turn around?
Well, listen, I don't even understand not having hope. Now we've got 8 more ball games. If you'll help me with my arithmetic here, since I can't do some other things right. So, bottom line is that we've got 8 ball games. That used to be 80% of a college season. That's a lot of football left. We've got a lot to work on that we can do better than that. But we were within striking distance as we came out for the third quarter, and that's very disappointing that we did all the things we did and end up with a game like that.
If Dak cannot come back, how much does that hurt your hopes for this season?
Well, I don't want to deal in hypotheticals, but anybody that loses their top quarterback has some adjustments to make, and they're usually adjusting uphill. And so I thought that basically we'd look better tonight without Dak. I thought we'd look better on offense than we looked without Dak. Seen Cooper play better than we played tonight. Philadelphia's got a lot to do with that. That's what it is.
By the way, we know where the sun's going to be
when we decide to flip the coin or not. So we do know where the damn sun's going to be in our own stadium.
Why not put the curtains in?
Why not mitigate that?
What?
The sun and seating's
Let's
eyes.
just tear the damn stadium down and build another one. You're kidding me.
But it's not, you don't have to go that way.
Everybody's got the same thing. Every team that comes in here has the same issues. They know where the sun's going to be. So our team has the same thing.
So is it more on Mike not understanding where the sun is and not calling
I'm saying the world knows where the sun is. You get to know that almost a year in advance. So someone asked me about the sun, and what about the sun? Where's the moon? But we're fine, but everybody plays in the sun out here.
What a great response there from Jerry about the curtains. I mean, you got to have fun with this now. That was great. I mean, I still don't put the curtains up. I don't really get the stubbornness that goes into that. Like, you've got the curtains. You use them for WrestleMania when WWE is here. You use them for concerts. I do understand that both teams have to play through that, but I think far
really
too
hard down
often
there.
now. Yeah,
I've stood down there in that end zone when
it's glaring
hard.
It's right
I
in the
watched
face.
the officials. I watched the back judges and all put their hands up on their eyes.
Yeah,
as the play is going on, these officials are moving with their hands on their eyes to shade. And I've stood down there in that end zone when the sun's coming through there. And it's difficult.
And
I mean, it is
anything you could
difficult.
do to get
he's right.
acclimated to
It's
that?
difficult for both teams, and it's difficult for the officials, and it's difficult for everybody that's down there playing right now. So, yeah, I mean, it's
just one of those things that's in your control to where it doesn't need to be a topic of conversation. And if your players think it's an issue, go ahead and fix it for them. And you just put the curtains up. It's a gorgeous stadium, in my opinion. I love being here. But it's an easy fix, and to just say like, oh, let's tear the stadium down. And he's frustrated, and I get it. Right? It was another embarrassing home loss.
To steal a line from him, he's got bigger problems than those curtains. He told me that one time. Right? He's got He's got bigger problems with the Lions.
But that's such an easy fix.
Yeah.
You just say, guys, put the curtains up today.
It's not going to change. So, but what can change though is. How they go forward in these games and who they play and at what times, and maybe they need to think about changing some of the things with the coaches. And I don't mean firing them. I mean just maybe some little bit different responsibilities. If you feel like you've got 8, if you're still in this and got 8 games to go, you can't play like this. You can't play like this and think that you honestly have a chance. You better go in there as a general manager and start asking some serious questions about your scheme, which you've questioned on the radio. You've questioned some of the play. You need to look at yourself and allowing Ezekiel Elliott to come back after missing, being late for meetings and stuff like that and being disruptive. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're going to make him inactive. And then, oh, everything's cool. Zeke's back to practicing. Oh, well, hey, we're going to make Dalvin Cook inactive this week. Oh, Zeke gets to, you need to look at yourself that way. You're right, sir. Don't worry about the damn curtains. You got bigger problems on your hands than the damn curtains. Okay? I'm just taking a line out of your book, sir. That's all I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
You have. This is your baby right now. This is your baby. You brought these players in. You've paid these players. You've got this coaching staff. And this is you. You're the general manager. You are not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
If you think you got plenty of time left to turn this thing around, you better damn figure it out right now then.
8 games. 8 games left to try and figure something out. 877-881-1053. The number to call, the number to text. Post-game show brought to you by WinStar is the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar knows what it means to be a star. With over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games, the all-new 2-story WinStar Spawn Cascades, their luxury pool complex. WinStar really is the place to feel like a star. Please game responsibly. Okay, from your owner and general manager, Jerry Jones, to the head coach. Here was Mike McCarthy talking to all 4 media members in the postgame.
Okay, David.
Mike, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Was it just your inability to generate anything offensively that just kind of wore on you as this game went along, you feel?
Well, I mean, I thought the defense came out, played very well in the first half. They just had the one touchdown there at the 2-minute spot. We gave them the ball on the first turnover. To me, the games was about the giveaways. It's unacceptable. Our last 2 home games, we've had 10 giveaways. You can't win games at any level like that. To be in there at halftime in a 1-score game and to go out there and turn that ball over 3 times, that's we have to we need to make some adjustments. It's the same thing happened to Detroit. The game gets away from you, and you can't get back into it. So, I'm disappointed. I'm sure as I'm sure everybody is.
Still, I'll say Dallas. Can you just talk about Cooper's game? There was not a lot down the field. What was obviously most things were close to the line of scrimmage. Was there not enough time to go down the field? Did you just talk about how he played and?
Well, I think it was, Evan, I think the game we wanted to play was the 15-play drive, and really just try to capitalize off our defense. Just like anything, you always feel like you have a good plan. The men have had a good weeks of work. We got the big turnover down there, tight in the red area, and didn't convert it to 7 points. But the 15-play drive and then turning the ball over, that was definitely a gut shot for us. But that's the game that I was trying to play. We had some shots down the field. But yeah, we didn't run it good enough, and we obviously didn't pass protect good enough. We didn't throw good enough. I didn't call plays good enough. But I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You can't win not taking care of the damn ball. I mean, you can't sugarcoat that anyway. 5 turnovers, it's unacceptable.
Tim Kalishaw, Dallas Morning News. What do you see for Trey Lance moving forward? I know he played very little, but in terms of starting games,
it's a good question. We're not there yet. We had a package for him. We wanted to get him into the flow of the game. Was the thought process coming in here? And then to get him in when we did. And then I took him out on the third down. I just believe in reps. I mean, there's that third down segment there. Not that he couldn't run the plays. I didn't want to put him in there something that he hadn't had a lot of reps in. So I'll put Cooper back in for that play after that. For third down we had to fumble the turnover there. But it's something we'll obviously discuss tomorrow.
Did you feel like the first half showed you could compete without Dak, but the whole game showed how tough it's going to be?
Hey, Dak's a great player. He's a big part of it. But this is the National Football League. That's why you have the roster you have. You can't win damn games turning the ball over 5 times. I don't give a who lines up. So that's the part we got to get right. The giveaways. It took us out of that game in the second half. Yeah, we missed a lot of our good players, but these young guys, I believe in them, and we just got to continue to work, and we got to protect and help and do things that the matchups are what they are, and they don't affect the big play progress. And I thought awesome for jumping in there middle of the week, held his own. So. We'll take a hard look at the video, and we got extra time to get ready for the Texans. But, I don't know how many times I got to say you can't give the ball away 5 times.
He's absolutely right. The turnovers were a big mistake.
Got a little mad there, didn't he?
Yeah, a little emotion.
A little mad, yeah.
A little zesty there from Coach. I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. Coach McCarthy there post-game, and he's right. I mean, you can't – nobody's going to win a game. No. With 5 turnovers.
There's a lot of other things that cost him that game, but the 5 turnovers was a big factor.
No question. No question. And the 13-play drive that he's talking about there was their best one, of the day. You had your long 19-yard Rico Dowdle run. They come right back. They used a little bit of tempo. They hit Jake Ferguson for 10. And unfortunately, you get first and goal at the 6, and then you gave it to Zeke, and he has his first ever career red zone fumble. But, again, this goes back to, I think, what you were just saying, Bryan, about having Zeke here. And I know
should have even been on the team.
Right, and I know there's some fans that will always look to defend and argue in favor of Zeke. I wonder who else would pick him up if he were available. But some of this stuff, I think, is also just, you don't want this. Zeke was supposed to be a good locker room guy.
Yeah,
that's what we were told when he was brought back.
But he's missing meetings or missing being late.
Right,
putting the head coach in a bad spot.
And I would imagine there's probably a lot of young players on the team, and you're playing a lot of young guys that would look up to Zeke, and they probably were big fans of Zeke. And when you see that said player do those things, and there's no real accountability for it, then why the hell should I follow suit?
Sure.
Right? To me, it's just it's also. There's so many things from today's game. And so many things that have been said post-game by Mike and by Jerry that I think really speak to the bigger overarching problems here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it goes back to accountability, some of the decision-makings, maybe the lack thereof.
Things that are tolerated.
Right.
Yeah.
Things that are allowed.
Things that are allowed.
And it's okay, and it's accepted, and it goes unchanged. And, the definition of insanity, right? What is it, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result? Well, it kind of seems like that's a lot of the time at the end of the season, that's what we've been talking about. Unfortunately, this year, now you're 3-6, and we're talking about it with 8 games left to play because the wins aren't able to cover up the problems. So they're kind of staring you right in the face right now. All right, 877-881-1053. We'll hear from Cooper Rush, DeMarvion Overshown, Micah Parsons, but we do need to get to your calls and texts. I'm sure you've got a lot to say after another very, very disappointing Cowboys loss to the Eagles 34-6. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Bell Nunley has been committed to serving their clients for over 4 decades. This
what a wing. What a burger, what a wing. It's what a wings.
Barkley's back in. They fake to him. Hurts runs it up the middle with a blocker in front and bangs across the goal line. Touchdown, Philadelphia. 2 for him today. 1 without his tush being pushed.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, very effective today. 14 of 20, 202 yards through the air, a couple of touchdowns. Did have that interception to Trayvon Diggs. Great pick by Diggs. And then there was the fumble as well, forced by Micah Parsons, recovered by Maris Leofau. But rushing-wise, Hurts getting it done with his legs. Thought maybe there was an ankle injury that Nick Sirianni slipped up, kind of told the media about when he missed a day of practice, which they said was rest. And Sirianni kind of insinuated maybe it was an ankle injury, and then kind of, no, never mind, it was rest. But 56 yards with his legs and a couple of touchdowns as well, 4 total today. Jalen Hurts was his normal, effective self, the Texans.
Yeah, that's I believe that's the 3rd home game where an opponent has not thrown the ball more than 20 times. I think the Saints got you for that, and I think the Ravens got you for that, and now here's the Eagles get you for that. So you're going to lose a lot of games if that's the case. If they're the effectiveness, and that has, I think a lot of it has to do with the 5 turnovers today. I think Coach is right, and Jerry's right about that. But there are other things that you're dealing with right now too.
Today's game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium, brought to you by American Airlines, the official airline of the Dallas Cowboys. That is the Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus. I'm Zach Wolchuk here from the Miller Lite Field Club at AT&T Stadium following a 34-6 Cowboys loss to the Eagles, dropping them to 3-6 on the season. Time to get to the phones. I know a lot of you have been waiting very patiently, and we appreciate you. Let's start with our buddy Charlie in New Mexico. Charlie, what's going on?
Hey guys! First of all, I'd like to wish all my fellow veterans thank you for your service. And here's the thing: when I was in the military, I used to have a major tell us all the time that the fish rots from the head down. Well, in this case, the head is Jerry Jones, and this team, if he won't get rid of Mike McCarthy, and I'm just following up on what you guys have been talking about most of the night. You have got to turn this play calling over to someone else. If you watch him in these games, it's not just his play calling, it's his scheme and preparation for the teams we're playing. It doesn't matter if we're playing the Chiefs or we're playing the Giants. He runs the same thing. Nothing's mixed up. Nothing surprises any defenses. And the coordinators that come up against us know that they're going to have an easy night.
I'm with you, man. I appreciate the call, Charlie. I know you've been calling for at least giving Brian Schottenheimer an opportunity to maybe just take over the play calling duties.
Something different. He's not going to fire the head coach, and he said that. These guys I think will continue to play hard for him. That's what Jerry looks for. They just do. Are they undermanned right now? Sure. They don't have their quarterback. They're struggling right now. They don't run the ball particularly well. They're struggling to get the ball down the field with this current quarterback they have. So, if you want to continue to play and just continue to 3 and out, I think you have to do something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
If even if you determine it's okay, it's Cooper Rush or Trey Lance, whoever it is, I would just willing to see let Brian Schottenheimer have a go at it. Let him see if there's something that and I remember being in Green Bay, and I know it's a long time ago, but there were times when when Mike Holmgren would click on and say, Andy, take a couple of calls, take a series, because I'm not in rhythm right now. And that's just, but Mike's in a situation where his contract is, he's not guaranteed anything, and he probably wants to go down on his own, on his own shield. He's probably, if he was, Jerry Jones, it could be very, very difficult. But as the general manager, you maybe need to go in there and make that suggestion that, hey, I'd like to see Brian Schottenheimer. Would it be something that we need to think about? And, and let Mike McCarthy say, no, I really don't think that's a very good idea. And if that's the case, then fire Mike McCarthy. Okay? That's what you need to do. You go in there with the idea of you're going to say, okay, hey, Mike, this is my suggestion to you. If Mike pushes back on that, then you say, okay, Mike, I have no choice but then to move on from you.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what we're going to do right now. And so that's the one way that you could kind of move on. I don't think he's going to do that. I could see him just letting this thing ride and, letting things completely fall apart. And then, Mike, no contract extension. Coaches that are out of contract, they go on. And the ones you have contracts for, you wait and see who the next head coaches be. Maybe you want to interview those guys. You want to hold those contracts. But right now, you need to think about doing something drastically different on offense because the offense hasn't looked good in 8 weeks.
No, and it didn't look good even with your starting quarterback. And I know Dak's out. We'll hear I'll read you some of the quotes of what Dak had to say regarding potential surgery here momentarily. But let's pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
34-6, Eagles embarrassing the Cowboys at home as the Cowboys fall to 0-4 here at AT&T Stadium after being undefeated in the regular season last year. Have not won a game since that Saturday Night Lions game last season after the Packers came in here and won the wild card round. Let's get back to the phones. We got Jeff in Salt Lake City. Jeff, what's going on? You're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Jeff. Okay, let's go to Joe in Hazlitt. Joe, what's up, man? No Joe. Okay, Gary in New Mexico. Gary, how you doing? Oh, we got phone issues. We'll get the phone. We'll get back to the phones. Just stay on hold.
Man, I figured something was probably.
Yeah, there was no way like we would go 3 in a row. So no worries. We'll get back to the phones here in just a minute. 877-881-1053. I think we have a couple of lines open if you want to go ahead and call in. Here is what Dak Prescott had to say following the game. He almost got taken out, actually. That Jake Ferguson fumble, the recovery, it looked like he was run into along the sidelines there. But Dak said if doctors say that he needs surgery, then he'll have it in New York this week. He added that if he avoids surgery, it's nearly 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. If he has the surgery, it'll be 3 to 4 months. So certainly either way, it's very possible, surgery or not, he would be done for the season with 8 games left if it was 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. But we did hear some reports that he was going to have the surgery. I'm sure he would like to avoid that, to not have 3 to 4 months of recovery there. But I guess when he gets that second opinion and sees some of the specialists, he'll make that decision and go from there.
Well, him and Britt Brown have worked together before, and Britt's one of the best when it comes to rehabbing his guys and getting them right. It's unfortunate what happened with Bland. They didn't have any type of foot pain until, that Thursday practice, and they thought they were going to have him back and ready to go. But, unfortunately, it hasn't been that way. But for Dak, I'm sure that, these doctors in New York will tell him what he needs to hear, and they'll make a decision, and we'll probably, one of these national, guys and gals that cover the NFL will probably have it, that he will be out for the year because of a surgery or not because of a surgery.
All right, let's try Gary in New Mexico again. What's going on, Gary?
Hey, guys, if I could, I'd like to just throw some names out there for potential head coaches next year. Who's the most likely to be the head coach out of these names, and just get your thoughts. And I'm just kind of spitballing this. I don't have all the inside information on stuff, but some of the names that have just popped into my mind: Mike McCarthy, Mike Zimmer, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, and then my 2 wild cards, Deion Sanders or Steve Sarkisian. I don't know what the league thinks about him, but just your thoughts on potential head coaches moving forward.
I could see Mike Vrabel being here.
I could see Mike Vrabel. And I think that the offensive coordinator then would be very interesting of who he would bring in. I think Matt LaFleur was his first initial offensive coordinator when he took over in Tennessee, and he's done pretty well with the Green Bay Packers.
Well. I am not going to hire any of these guys until you tell me who your staff is, though. I'm not going to let you put together a bad staff and, have a bad offensive line coach and a bad this and a bad that. If you come in the interview with me and you start giving me names, I'm going to have somebody on my staff researching every one of these coaches and talk about the strengths and the weaknesses. You are not bringing any friends or any that kind of guy. You're bringing guys and some gals maybe that can legitimately coach your team. And if you tell me you're bringing in an offensive line coach and I don't like the guy, I don't think I'm giving you the job. I really don't. I think that position is so important when you look going forward. So Mike Vrabel, he's better. His defense has kind of been pretty good. He's a defensive coach.
Well, that's a no-nonsense kind of guy.
No nonsense.
If you want accountability, if you want somebody to come in and bring some discipline, Mike Vrabel, at least from the outside perspective, not having been there in Tennessee and knowing for sure, seems like that is his MO.
He's a tough guy, but you want to bring in here some guys that can't coach. I'm not interested in hiring you as a coach.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I do think Deion is interesting. I don't think Sark would be a realistic option.
There's no reason for him to leave Texas.
It's a pretty darn good setup there. I like the offensive mind and creativity that he would bring to the table. But, Bryan, and you and I get to do the draft show, and I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to have joined that over the last couple of years. But with the way the season's going, the Cowboys are most likely going to have a top 10, maybe top 5 pick.
Maybe top 5 pick.
Jerry did allude to, and look, they have paid their quarterback, so I don't think that they will be drafting a quarterback. But the noise is going to be there with Shedeur Sanders most likely being a top 5 pick.
Throws the ball well to Hunter. Watched Hunter already. Hunter's
and then
a good
if
player.
you need a coach, I mean, does the Jerry and Prime connection as well, then you get coach and son together again in the NFL ranks like that. That is a storyline that you can see being tied to the Cowboys.
Why do I kind of feel like that maybe Jason Witten would have a better chance of coaching this team than Deion Sanders?
I could absolutely see Jason Witten, who's had tremendous success in high school.
Exactly,
and that's Dan Campbell.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of that toughness. That can you hire a staff? Do you know enough? Or we've seen like Dan Campbell work with Aaron Glenn, who was, was a former player.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Witten, a very decorated, highly respected, tight end in the league for a long time, going to be a Hall of Fame tight end one day. Could he put together a staff? I know that sounds crazy, but
it does.
If you're going to throw Deion Sanders out there as a name, I'll throw Jason Witten out there too as a guy that I bet you that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones talked to. For a just to kind of get a feel of where he's at.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked plenty about the Bill Belichick stuff, and I think that comes down to, is he either willing or not willing to give up personnel?
That's going to be really hard for Bill to do. I think it's going to be really hard. I think that it's one of those things too. I look at that Bill Belichick. Does Will McClay and also Stephen Jones want somebody? They're very comfortable with the way that they. And please, folks, hear me out. They're very comfortable in the way that the draft and development stuff is. And they're very comfortable of signing their own. They're very comfortable of operating that way. Bill Belichick would come in and say, well, you're going to do that? What? What you're doing what? Bill Parcells did a lot of the same thing. I learned something from Bill Parcells, though. When him and Jerry were working together, Bill went through Stephen. And, Bill got Stephen on his side for some stuff. And then that way, that's how, Bill got stuff done through Jerry, because he communicated it through Stephen, teaching Stephen what's going on there. So, Bill Belichick, I'm not interested in all, Matt Patricia and all that. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that right now.
The Josh McDaniels,
I'm not interested
he'd
in
bring
that
in as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one that I'm sure Bill would love the opportunity for that job. I also wonder, if the Giants, even though Giants,
he's going to come in here and tell you everything that's wrong about your football team, and he's probably right.
And they probably don't want to hear it.
And they probably don't want to hear it.
You're right. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. All right, we'll double check on the phones here. We'll get back to that on the other side. 877-881-1053. The number to call, the number to text. Did get quite a few texts in regarding the coaching conversation. One that is interesting. Should our opinion of Kellen Moore change at all with what he's doing with the Eagles? He certainly had success today. He was able to win over Mike McCarthy. He looked like the better offensive coordinator between the two without a doubt today. He's also got certainly better personnel to work with. But I was one that also was all for Kellen being gone here. I had seen enough of the Kellen Moore offense. But is he a guy you think that they would look at all? They clearly had an affinity for him, and now he's had two other opportunities with the Chargers and now with the Eagles to try and brush up on his ability as a coach.
If he can bring the line coach Jeff Southland from the Eagles as his offensive line coach, I'm sure he would probably name Doug Nussmeier probably his offensive coordinator here. Listen, Kellen Moore has done a really nice job in Philadelphia. more motion to their offense, less turnovers. When you start to kind of look at things, they've done a nice job. It's them and the Commanders for the division title, in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see. If I personally, I kind of feel like you need a tougher guy. I think you need a guy, and that's why I was interested in Vrabel. Mm-hmm. But I'm only interested in Vrabel if he can bring the staff. I want accountability of my team.
Yeah.
I want an edge. I want a toughness. Look at the teams that are winning in the National Football League right now. There's an edge and a toughness about them. Damn, Kansas City tries to lose every week. They try to lose, but look what their coach, their defensive coordinator, they won't allow these guys to lose. Now, they caught a huge break today. Sean Payton had them on the ropes. They block a field goal. But what do you do? The great teams, the well-coached teams, they find a way, to Dave Toub, who's the special teams coach in Kansas City. He finds a way. Every week they find a way, a different coach, whether it's the defensive, whether it's Steve Spagnuolo or Toub, they find a way every weekend to win a game. Somebody finds a way to win the game in these coaching staffs. And I'm not interested in having a coaching staff that doesn't do that or doesn't give me that type of, a difference. Jerry talked about being a difference maker. Coaches can make a difference in these games. I need the difference makers is what I need.
Amen. All right, we'll get back to your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. We'll also have our drive of the game, and we'll also get more player audio as well. Cooper Rush, Micah Parsons, DeMarvion Overshown. How's his knee doing after exiting the game earlier today? You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brew.
a 46-yard field goal. And the kick is away, and Aubrey's kick is good from 46. 3:10 remaining to be played in the first quarter. Eagles 7, Cowboys 3.
That is our drive of the game, brought to you by Blockchain. Trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder, with blockchain.com. It was 9 plays, 32 yards after a big return by Kavante Turpin. He can see now, baby, and it was a 47-yard return. He's got the contacts. He's a whole new man. Set the Cowboys up at the 40-yard line, and they end up settling for the Brandon Aubrey field goal. Cowboys' red zone issues do continue. I believe they've only converted 10 red zone trips all season long, and they're now 10 for 24 on the season. I believe they were 0 for 2 today, settling for both those Brandon Aubrey field goals. But, hey, Brandon Aubrey continues to be a really, really good weapon for you. One of the better players so far this year. You're looking for positives. If you need another positive, DeMarvion Overshown certainly was one today, and there was a moment where you could really feel, I think, how much he does now mean to this football team.
Yeah.
He goes down. It was a non-contact injury. The entire linebacking core, everybody, the ones that weren't even on the field, all came onto the field, huddled around him with a ton of concern. We saw him jog off, run into the locker room. DeMarvion Overshown catching up with the media post-game on how he's doing.
I'm great. I'll be ready to go next week.
Defense came out to a fast start this time against the Eagles. And can you just talk about the mindset going into this game and how you guys were able to carry it? You had a breakout game. Just how are you feeling after that, despite the loss? So forth.
We knew that they was going. We had to come out hot defensively, especially with a couple guys down on offense. But we knew we had to take it to them. They were going to try to run it down our throats at the beginning of the game. So we had to set the tone of, this is what we're not having. I think we was feeling good coming out of halftime. And we just let it slip away from us in the third quarter, just small things. And you look up fourth quarter, now you fighting. So good ball club we just faced, but we definitely was in spots to win that game.
Could you tell that the team, the defense was getting a spark off of you and Micah's performances, the way you guys were all over the place?
That's just one thing about having our guy back. We know 11 is going to draw a lot of attention anyways, anywhere he puts. So it gives players like myself the opportunity to make some plays. I was able to capitalize on some of those. Missed the crucial sack in the red zone. It's going to haunt me. But we got one of our guys back. You can tell it definitely, lit a fire under everybody. And I think it's more to come with 11 and 13 out there together.
With 8 games left, what's the mindset right now? I know it's kind of tough.
We got to win one every week. We got to win one. This was a big one, being a division game. We know how the NFL plays out. You never know to that last week. So we just got to go 1-0. And I know it's easy to say and it's cliche to say, but that's the mindset, and that's what we got to get back to as a football team, as an organization in general. Just 1-0 mindset.
There's DeMarvion Overshown after this one. Shout out to the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold helping us get that audio, and that's great news for him to say he's feeling great and he'll be back next week. That was scary. I mean, we saw what happened to him in the preseason last year. The ACL cost him the entire season, and 8 tackles, 2 sacks just in the first quarter and a half alone. He was brilliant. And, we talked about that after the draft, possibly using him as a rusher.
Yes.
And you've been highlighting that as well the last couple of weeks. My goodness gracious, as the game starts to seemingly slow down for him, he's an athletic freak, but he's clicked into something when it comes to being a rusher that certainly can be an asset moving forward.
He could have had a 3rd sack. He said it. He knew it. He knew it. And that's the one where Hurts was able to slide forward in the pocket and then make the throw for the touchdown, but he knew it. And I wanted without Parsons on the field, this is an explosive guy that can close and he can finish. And unfortunately, like I mentioned, he didn't get to finish on that one play, but he damn could have had 3 sacks today. But he is. He's getting the attention of a lot of teams and especially a lot of opponents because of how how he's playing. He's just that guy that pops on film. When you turn it on, that guy, the way he's able to cover ground and the way he just gets after And, there's been some times where his assignments, you kind of feel like that he got fooled a little bit. But, man, it's just part of a young guy growing up and playing football. But, man, him, Jordan Lewis, you got to kind of tip your hat to those two guys on a year where, the defense has had its share of struggles. Those guys seem to have shown up when they need them to.
No question about that. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text you on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus. Let's get back to the phones here from you. Let's go to Texas T in Fort Worth. What's going on, sir?
Hey, what's up, buddies? How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Hey, man, you know what, man? Mike McCarthy cannot call plays. Bryan, I'm kind of missing Jason Garrett right now. I don't know. They need to change. Why are the Cowboys, we the only making our quarterbacks throw it 50 times like we got Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, or Drew Brees. Everybody was throwing this game 20 times. We the only we can't run. Let's live by the defense. But we don't need to make Dak throw 40. None of the quarterbacks are throwing 40 times a game. Why are they doing it? Can y'all explain that to me, man? Please.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. Look, I do think some of that is lopsided because they've been so far down in games and early in the game.
It got away from it. I mean, if that thing could have stayed into the third quarter, going a little bit going back and forth, and you could hang in there and get some points and keep your defense off the field, maybe things would change up. He's in a bad spot as a play caller. I said personally I'd like to see him maybe hand it over to Schottenheimer, but he couldn't get Cooper Rush going today, and Cooper Rush wasn't good enough. He just wasn't good enough. We've seen Cooper Rush play a lot better, but man, it just you could tell that there was just nothing to and Cooper Rush, if the first sign of sensing trouble, what is he going to do? He's going to check it down, throw it short, and Cooper Rush did not play this game today like a very confident football player, and I don't think his head coach, play caller, particularly helped him in a lot of those situations as well.
No, and for a coach in Mike McCarthy who does stress complimentary football, that's just, it's been so few and far between that's happened. Your defense was outstanding today, and you were having some success running the football, and then you take out Rico, you put in Zeke, you have the fumble, unfortunately. It just seems like even when things are kind of going well in the running game,
nothing's easy.
Then they get away from it. Something happens, and now it's, okay, well, we can't go back to that, and you're throwing the football. It's just, it looks good for 1 second, and then it's like you can't have nice things all of a sudden. It's just something goes awry with it.
Teams just do not respect your running game at all, and then they'll just sit down on your routes too. That's a big problem right now.
All right, let's keep the phones rocking here as we go to Grant in Irving. Grant, what's going on? You're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey guys, thanks for answering my call. I'll keep it short and sweet, like the guy said. But I'm just going to let y'all know I've been a fan for 23 years, man. I listened to 105.3 The Fan with my dad post-game growing up. And I became a student journalist because I respected what y'all did. Did that throughout college, moved to Dallas, man. I've been a fan my entire life. And so I respect what y'all do. I'm going to let y'all get back shortly to talking about how bad the run game is, how bad the run defense is, and just talking about how they disrespected, God's coach Tom Landry on the billboard, calling him Tom Laundry. Anyways, that's not what's important. My biggest question is why do we bring Jerry Jones on the radio? Why do we interview him post-game? He continues to embarrass the Dallas Cowboys name. I can't even listen to any podcasts, any TV shows anymore because all it is him embarrassing us, man. I'm just wondering why we keep giving him the time of day and keep making him run this circus, man. That's my biggest question, and thank y'all.
But, the thing about it with Jerry Jones, and he's been on with us now, 15 years, something like that. He is the owner. He is the general manager. You got to take the good with the bad. Jerry, to me, it's must-listen radio because, I think our guys do a good job of asking him questions when we have him or Steven on. The post-game stuff, I'm sure that Mike McCarthy doesn't like to sit maybe he does. He doesn't like to sit in an interview room. He's probably 15 feet away from me and Zach when he's at that podium, and we see four guys sitting in there listening. You just you kind of answering your own question there. 4 guys for Mike McCarthy, and look at the overhead shot of Jerry Jones. You tell me who people feel is more important to get their information from. And I mean no disrespect to you, sir. I really don't. But I'm just saying, though, that's kind of where we're at right now with this. He is, the good with the bad, and you have to take them both. And Jerry is, you're going to get some seriously, explosive comments from Jerry, and that's what the media, is kind of looking forward to right now.
All right, let's get to our buddy Big Jim in Round Rock. Jim, what's going on, brother?
Well, I'll keep it short tonight. Wolchuk, I got a little long last week. I put down a list, and I know you had to cut me off. That's okay. I know. I'm sorry about that. Well, it's just embarrassing to watch what they can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sham said it. He said that wasn't Cooper Rush. That was his twin brother, Pooper Flush, out there tonight. That's what it was. But I tell you, it's so sad, and I feel for everybody, because this is a wonderful fan base. I don't think we had unrealistic expectations coming into the season. It wasn't just, we're going all the way and all that business, but man, you just got to put it out there. Bryan, one thing I say about Schottenheimer, I think y'all interviewed him out at training camp or something.
We sure did.
A question about who do you steal plays for? Who do you look at? Remember what he said? He said, I don't do that. I don't do that. Like, I don't know that they're capable. I agree with you 100% that we ought to put Lance back there, and we ought to do some read option. Hell, they did it up in Green Bay with Malik Willis, and you know what happened? The passing game actually opened up for that kid. Yeah. But I don't think that they have the fortitude nor the ability. I think they're stuck back in the old CBA rules of practice. I don't think they're efficient. I just think they don't do a lot of things right. We got to bring this franchise into the 21st century. And, man, I tell you, we just got problems. And I say this one thing, and I'm sorry I'm going along, but by God, you should give your team every chance to win. And if it means going and getting an architect to figure out a way to pull some kind of shading over those windows just to displace the light, that's a small thing. Mm-hmm. That's a small thing. And if it gives your players a chance to win or to win on a play, by George, do it. This makes no sense to me. Hey, love you, boys. Thanks for the joy. Always on the radio on 105.3. If y'all people aren't listening to 105.3 The Fan and not listening to the G-Bag Nation, you need to download the Odyssey app and listen to it. It's good radio.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you, Big Jim, with another passionate post-game call. And, yeah, they've got the curtains. I mean, it's something they've got. But they don't want to put it up for the football games. Good thing is Monday Night Football, it's going to be dark outside.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it on Monday night when the Houston Texans come to town if you want to go glass half full approach. All right.
Got bigger issues than those curtains.
Yeah, I know. You're right, Brian. They got a whole damn football team.
They got bigger issues than those curtains, yeah.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text as we're with you for another hour. We'll get our player of the game. We've also got our defensive stand of the game. We'll also hear from Micah Parsons and Cooper Rush. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning
flights cooked to perfection, or simply relax on 18 miles of uninterrupted coastline. Go to visitportaranzas.com and get acquainted with the island life.
Hurts in the gun, snap is back. Standing, rushed, fumbles the ball on a sack. The ball is recovered by Dallas at the 5-yard line. Leofau recovered it and was touchdown. The Cowboys with their season-high 5th sack of the day.
Yeah, and that was all in the first half right there. As that is our What a Play of the Game, brought to you by Reliant, an NRG company there, as the Cowboys with 5 sacks in the first half. You had Micah Parsons getting in on the action. DeMarvion Overshown had 2. You had a half sack is Lawson and Ndigizua met at the quarterback. Their first half defensively, I think it was their best half of football outside of the season opener in Cleveland. They really, really played well. You had the Diggs interception. You had that.
Didn't
Micah
let him
Parsons.
run the ball on him. I mean, that's
and Barkley was held. I think it was like 26 yards rushing in the first half.
The thing with Hurts running the ball.
Yes, Hurts did run the football effectively.
It wasn't Barkley that killed you. It was Hurts.
It was Hurts.
And then where we sit in the press box, you could just see it opening up off that edge.
Mm-hmm.
He would roll, and then all of a sudden that space would open up, and then he would take off running once he saw what was happening to you.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a weapon there. But, eventually when you're not able to sustain any drives on offense, the defense stays on the field, and really the floodgates open there in the second half. Speaking of Micah Parsons, Micah was talking with the media post-game after a 34-6 loss to the Eagles.
With a backup quarterback in the game, you're going to have to give it everything you got to be. Was that the mentality going in? Did you feel that way too?
I felt like we just had to give our best because we know this is a rival game. Jalen Hurts, that offense is so explosive with the weapons they have. But, I think the mindset was, to kill them birds, really. Like I said, I believed in Cooper Rush. I didn't care who was at quarterback. Our defense, we got to do our job regardless.
DeMarvion said that you provided the spark. You and him flying around getting some things done. It lifted the whole defense. Talk about that.
Yeah, man, that's little bro, man. I had to sometimes. I told them, I said, sometimes you got to let a pit bull go, but sometimes you got to know when to leash him back up. So, as I'm getting a little older, but still being wild, pit bull, I got to leash him up sometimes. He wants to give it all. He got like a true warrior spirit, man. I think eventually I might want to hop back and play linebacker again just so I could play with him. I love the energy he brings. He's such a special, I don't even want to say kid because he played like a grown man. But he's somebody I hope I play with for a long time.
You see some Micah Parsons in him?
Man, I see greater things. I think in sense of where you would hope that people that you kind of, I don't want to say I look up to him, but how he plays, the motor, the relentlessness, man. I hope he's greater than me in all aspects of this game. That's something that you hope for all your fellow teammates.
Being one of the leaders on the team, what do you say? I mean, what do you say to this group to try to keep hope alive to get things back?
Yeah, we had a great message in chapel this week, man. You got to be the light. Even when other sides, that offense light isn't shining as hard as, in past, that offense has always kind of shined brighter than us, and we kind of needed their juice to big us up. We got to be the offense's light this time. Every time we had a turnover, I looked at the guy and said, we knew some bad going to happen. I mean, that's where we at with this. So, but we got to be the light. We got to hold them to 3. And, I think they earned one good drive. Before half, I give them that drive, but, I feel like some things gave them some aspects of the game gave them those other touchdowns. But, overall, I'm happy for these defensive guys, how they played. Obviously, you want some plays back. A couple of those penalties cost us, but I'm happy in the direction where we're going.
There was Micah Parsons following today's loss, and that is kind of where we're at as an offense. I mean, but the defense, I think, held up their side of things until, the second half where all hell broke loose. They certainly gave them a chance to win in the first half. An interesting quote from Micah after the game as well, from Jory. Quote, in regards to coaches not being his top worry as the Cowboys season spirals. Quote, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. guys I kind of feel bad for, guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year or on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. Those are the kinds of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Yeah.
I get what he's saying there in terms of,
teammates are important, man. Teammates are really, really important. And, you every year, especially teams that win championships, the next year, it's not the same team. You want to try and recapture those things, but it's a different journey. Mm-hmm. And you feel bad for the guys that you play with, that they might not get to go on that journey with you anymore. You run out of campaigns. And I think that's, you look at Jerry Jones, Father Time is undefeated, as we like to say. I don't mean to sound morbid or anything like that, but Jerry Jones is running out of campaigns. We all are running out of campaigns. You know what I'm saying? And so when you put so much into a season and then it goes south the way this one has, with some injuries and the way they've lost some games, and it hasn't just been about losing games. It's been about how embarrassing the losses are.
Yeah.
It's like, we had bad losses those 3 5-11 seasons, but man, they have far more talent than we ever had in those 5-11. I can understand why this team was or why we were 5-11 back in the early 2000s. I can't understand why this team is that way right now, but they are. They're trending. They're trending just as bad as those 5-11 teams that we had under the Dave Campo administration.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it is. I mean, it's even worse with what's been going on at home.
But the talent.
But yeah.
And I guess there comes a point in time, too, where you'll say, is this really a talented team? Is it really? I mean,
have we overrated the talent?
Yeah, I know my answer on that. I know. I think there were some areas where I clearly, in watching practice in Oxnard, felt like that they were going to be able to overcome some things. But overall, though, like you and I have talked about, you could have the 5th overall pick and you could pick any position, and it would probably help this team right now.
Yeah.
That's how
it's so many holes.
Yeah, there's so many holes in this thing that you can't really kind of plug them all.
All right, let's get back to the phone lines, 877-881-1053, so you can get some thoughts off your chest as well here on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. It's myself, Zach Wolchuk, alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus. Let's go to Adam in Anna. Adam, what's going on?
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
We're okay, man. How are you?
Hey, I got 2 quick points and a question, or I guess 1 quick point and a question. Bryan, earlier there was a phone call, and the guy said, like, why bring Jerry on and all that. Yeah. And I don't mind Jerry being brought on. I get it. But you said you got to take the good with the bad. But what good has there been? I mean, the 12-win season, that's, great, but no Cowboys fan cares if we're not doing any playoff success. But my other question
but you cared. You cared. You wanted to listen. Now, you wanted to listen to Jerry after the Steelers game, right? Was Jerry talking after that game? Did that do anything for you?
Personally, I don't care to hear Jerry at all. But I get it from the media standpoint.
That's fine. I mean, but as the media, we need Jerry. We need Jerry. We need him. And I guarantee you, if you were sitting where Zach and I, and I'm not trying to make light of this or it's like, oh no, you can never do what we do. But we need that access. We need to, we need that access to be able to try and ask questions of what's really going on with this football team. Now, he might give us some ridiculous-ass answers, but he also might give us something that we need to, think about and talk about. There's a lot of teams that their general managers don't talk until the combine. I know you're getting tired, the losses and all that. I know it's wearing on everybody. But from a media standpoint, we need to be able to ask those questions.
But besides the media standpoint, what is the good for the fans of having him on? Do you know?
Yeah, the good of it is that we can get to the bottom of answers. That's the good of it. When he comes on and our show or some show, on our station, ask him about injuries or how he feels about the head coach or what he thinks about the quarterback, there's benefit there. There's that's the benefit. That's why I say you have to take the good with the bad. But for me, I want to ask Stephen Jones questions on Friday afternoon. That gives me a little bit more insight going in and getting ready for these games that I have to work 9 hours every Sunday on.
Okay, I appreciate that. Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Yeah, what's up?
All right. If now is not the appropriate time to make any coaching changes, because that's the easiest change to make in regards to the team, when is the appropriate time?
Let me ask you this.
That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Can you hang with me here a second?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm here.
What difference is that going to make? Seriously?
Well,
I'm trying to be serious. I really am.
If
just
toxic in the locker room, then why not just go ahead and get rid of it?
Do you think?
We don't really know. I mean, only the players and the coaches know. But if it is a toxic aspect, and Jerry Jones would know, then why not just go ahead and get rid of it?
Do you think Mike's toxic?
No, I like Mike, but I don't know if the players do.
Well, they play hard for him, though, man. Do you see the defense? I mean, they're down their quarterback, and they're playing their ass off in the first half of this game. Their offense couldn't do anything. I don't think he's toxic. Do I think there's some scheme issues there? Do I think some things have maybe passed him by? Sure. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, we can go back and go to the Saints game or the Ravens game whenever the offense was healthy with Dak.
Yeah.
But now,
I don't think that's being toxic. I think that's just not being there. He's talked about how many times they didn't practice well, and the GPS numbers are good, and it wasn't. That part of it. I think, that in itself is a reason to get rid of the man.
Yeah, the team is unprepared. And look, Adam, I think ultimately it's going to happen. I think Jerry's for whatever reason, he's made some coaching changes, and he's got regrets. And he wants to give Mike the opportunity to coach this season out, and then they'll go from there. Big picture.
I don't think things are going to change.
I don't either.
I
don't think all of a sudden, you make the coaching change. Maybe you get an extra win out of it. Maybe it galvanizes everyone together, and you get one win today.
Sure.
Like New Orleans was able to beat the Falcons, but they'll probably go back. I mean, they did lose last week with the new coach, so they'll probably go back to struggling again. Maybe they won't. Maybe it is something that'll save their season. I don't know, but I don't think you saw quit today.
No.
And I did have a question. I think the Saints game, maybe you saw a little bit of that, but it doesn't seem like he's lost his locker room. I think there are still a lot of players who do like the coach.
I wouldn't say he's toxic, but I would say his attack or the way that their offensive scheme works right now
is bad.
Is not as good as it needs to be. Yeah.
And to your point about Jerry, I agree with everything you said. I have to separate this from a media perspective.
Do you want to?
As a Cowboy fan perspective.
Okay, take yourself out of it. Take yourself out of being in the media.
I don't want to hear Jerry.
You don't want to hear Jerry anymore?
I don't have. No, I think I think ultimately it's become a big problem for this franchise. I think that it undermines the head coach.
Okay.
I don't think that it gives your head coach credibility in that locker room because of some of the things that Jerry will say. And then the coach says the opposite. I think it's a terrible look when your head coach is talking to the media and everybody else is out there with the owner and general manager. Because everything you said I agree with is 100% right. But I think all of that is a problem. I don't think it's good. You don't see any other general manager or owner speaking after games. I think that it has proven to be a problem. And I think it's amazing the insight that the Jones family gives us.
Yeah.
Because to that point, no other team gets it, and that is a blessing.
Yeah.
But
I think that helped.
I wonder if it's a problem.
And Adam was his name, right?
Yes.
Adam, like I said, to me, I want the access because I want to be able to try and explain what he's saying or what he's talking about.
And that
I worked with the man for 14 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could be just like you and say, I don't want to hear from Jerry anymore. As a fan, I could understand a fan saying, I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
From the media side of things, I need Jerry Jones to try, and he might get totally pissed off at me for asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to gather information to make my listeners, understand what's going on with this football team. That's my job.
And look, like the 903, it's no problem when winning. And I agree with you. But that's also the issue. Like, this team has not won a championship, has not even been to the conference championship. It's them and Washington. That's it in the NFC. And Washington looks much closer today than you do to maybe snapping that streak. And that's also one of the things that I wonder is the root of the issue. Because, yes, I don't know that the coach is given the full ability to do what they need to do, because you have basically the owner and general manager that is the face. It's not the coach that's the face. It's Jerry.
Yeah, but my experience of working with the Joneses, coaches, the head coach, Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, his say on players, Ted Thompson was the general manager. Teddy picked the players for him. Mike coached the players.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy has the ability right here to say, well, yeah, we're going to take Mozzie Smith here, Will. You're absolutely right. Let's take Mozzie Smith. Or, hey, we're going to take Tyler Smith here. Yeah, he's had more authority to be a head coach, general manager type. He might not have the power, the final, but he has a voice, a very strong voice in this organization. Man, now, I'd be interested to see what his thoughts are when this is all said and done about Zeke.
Yeah.
Now maybe that's a situation where he's like, I'm not going to win the Zeke battle. So I'm going to play Zeke, and whatever happens, happens. I think Mike, when he first took this job, had no idea what he was getting into. He was grateful he had a gig in the NFL. Right now, I think Mike McCarthy knows exactly what it's like to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And if somebody were to ask him that after he left here, I'm sure that he would tell you that it's probably not the best thing in the world. It's not the best situation. But he went from a place in Green Bay for all those years where they didn't have an owner. They did not have somebody or a general manager that was hammering on him every day like this in the media. Mike took this job because he was out of a job.
He did.
He resuscitated his career, though. He really did.
He did. But that structure in Green Bay helped him go to multiple NFC championships and
win
a Super Bowl.
He needed to redo his. He needed to redo his.
He did. No,
offense.
He needed it.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, I still think this is a premier job. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. It might not be, though, if you think that the owner and the general manager is a problem.
Yeah, I do think that is. So, I mean, I thought that was a good conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate Adam's opinion there. Yeah. That was very nice.
We'll get back to the phones, 877-881-1053. We'll also get our defensive stop of the game. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey, Cowboy fans. I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't.
throws it in the middle of the end zone. That's intercepted. That's a diving interception to the post by Trayvon Diggs. Wow. That's a heck of a play for Trayvon Diggs.
That is our defensive stop of the game. It really was an outstanding interception from Trayvon Diggs, and it was great to see. I mean, first interception, I think it was since maybe week 1 against Cleveland, if memory serves. Also a red zone interception. Took points off the board as the Eagles were going in to score. I believe it was the first red zone turnover the Cowboys have forced since last season when Jordan Lewis forced a fumble of Christian McCaffrey in that San Francisco game. So it's been a while. Unfortunately, the Cowboys then turned the ball over themselves in the red zone with Zeke's first ever career red zone fumble. But that was vintage Trayvon Diggs right there, as he now has 20 interceptions in his career.
Yeah, really great job of reading the ball. After the game, Hurts was even talking about he knew they got what they wanted, and he knew he could probably try to fit it in there. But Diggs just reading the route, being prepared for what was going to happen. And so that seam and him able to kind of come off coverage and then make that play, though, you got to give him a lot of credit for reading it the right way. That's what you got to have. Got to have plays like that to kind of make up for some of the things that might happen in the game, and he did a good job on that one.
He did. He undercut it, made a heck of an interception. All right, last bit of player audio that we haven't gotten to. Cooper Rush did speak to the media. We weren't sure which quarterback would talk. Would it be Cooper? Would it be Trey? But Cooper Rush did get the majority of the snaps. Started the game 13 of 23, 45 yards. It certainly was not the same player that we saw play 5 games a few years ago, go 4-1 during that stretch. And here's what Cooper Rush had to say postgame.
Cooper, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Just the inability to generate anything offensively. Do you think that just wore on the team overall over the course of the game today?
Yeah, totally. Defense was out there. They were balling versus very good offense, getting turnovers. They did their part, and we just left them out there to dry.
Clarence Hill, City, Dallas. Can you talk about the first fumble and what happened there, just the snap?
Just got to catch that. Got to catch it. Just dropped it, and yeah, that one hurt us for sure.
Did you think you had recovered it? He took it after you got over the pile, under the pile?
I thought I had. I think I smoked pretty good, I guess, and that's when he took it, and yeah, I got falling that faster and catch the ball and start off stronger that way. But our defense, the whole first half with that mistake and everything else, played so well, and so I was proud of them for that.
Cooper Todd Archer with ESPN. The after Micah forced the fumble, you down there, second and goal. You throw it to, I don't know if you throw it to Jake or CD in there. Can you kind of walk us through that? And do you think the sun played a factor in CD not being?
Yeah, I was throwing to CD. He's open over there, coming across the middle. I didn't see. I threw and got hit. I didn't see what happened. Heard it was the sun. I don't know.
Cooper, when Trey initially went in the game, it looked like you were also running out. Just what was the communication at that point?
Yeah, we had some package plays for Trey and a couple of the zone read stuff and power read stuff that he does that has a lot of history with. And so yeah, at that point, it was just that package was going in.
And then when he did go in for good the rest of the game, what was the conversation between you and the coaches?
Yeah, Trey was up. Just needed a spark. Had to get something going.
Yeah. Tim Kalishaw, Dallas Morning News. A couple years ago, you were 5-1 as a starter, kept things rolling. What made today such a bigger challenge to try to get this team going?
Yeah, just didn't play well enough. We ran it well in the first half. We just didn't capitalize sometimes down there in the red zone. A couple good long drives. Defense gets a turnover, and we don't capitalize. And it can snowball fast when you don't take care of the ball as well. Like you said earlier, spotted them one early in the first quarter, and then going to the end zone. So turnovers will always kill you, and we had a chance with the defense playing well and to overcome those, come out of the halftime, and we just didn't.
Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. You guys haven't been able to get a win at home quite yet. What's the challenge and the message for the locker room going forward as far as trying to stop the bleeding with the Houston Texans coming in next week?
Yeah, you just got to keep playing. The NFL, it's not stopping for anybody. Next week's coming, next team's coming in here on a Monday night, and so it's right back to work. And it's just no one's stopping or slowing down. You just got to keep on going.
Dave, these teams the last few years that you've been on have done such a good job of not turning the ball over. Is there anything you can pinpoint on just how uncharacteristic the season's been to this point? What's going on?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of the Achilles heel right now in turnovers, and as long as football's been around, those have mattered the most. And they're just coming in bunches right now, and we got to stop it.
There's Cowboys quarterback Cooper Rush after a 34-6 loss. I mean, very honest and self-reflective there.
Yeah.
I mean, Cooper knows, what happened today, and I mean, he's certainly. I mean, that's the reason why he's been able to have such a long career in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Smart dude. Certainly has made the most of his opportunities in the past, but today was the worst version we've seen of Cooper Rush in a Cowboy uniform.
It almost looked like he was starting for the first time in his NFL career.
Yeah.
It looked like to me that, the drop snap uncharacteristic. You could hear the disappointment in his voice because there's been times where he's played very, very well, but he looked like a guy that. He's prepped and ready to go for this thing, but man, when it started going bad for him, he was trying to dig himself out, but the ball was underneath to the side, to the flat. It was nothing. With Cooper Rush coming to the game last week against the Falcons, the ball was going down the field. I mean, you couldn't throw a ball better than the one he threw to CeeDee Lamb that went through CeeDee's hands. I mean. That's kind of what I was expecting. I didn't expect the Cowboys to win today, but I didn't expect Cooper Rush to be historically poor with throwing the football with the yards that he got with the number of attempts he had.
I didn't either. I thought, if anything, with the way the defense played, they were going to have a chance to be in this thing. I thought ultimately this is how that would play out. They'd probably lose by a possession, but they'd be able to hang in it with Philly because the Eagles were trying to lose this game for a while. The way the mistakes that they were making, it could have been a very, very different story if you had any sort of an offense to speak of. Unfortunately,
the fact that you got to stop coming out of half.
Yeah.
You get a 3-and-out stop, and you're thinking like, all right, well, here you go. They're going to get this offense going again, and it just never happened. 3-and-outs, turnovers. It was just too much.
All right, let's get back to the phones, try to get a couple of calls, but first let's pause 10 seconds for station identification across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Tolo, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
All right, let's go out to Paul in Wisconsin. Paul, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Good evening, guys. A comment and then a couple of questions. I'll make it quick. I hope when you guys are by yourself, and this goes for all the Dallas media, they wrestle a little bit with this foregone conclusion that Mike McCarthy's gone. He might be, and you guys might be spot on, but this is a guy who, has had 3 12-5 seasons. He's won a Super Bowl. I think he deserves a little bit more respect than just throwing him under the bus and saying his season's done, he's going to be out of here. That could very well be the case. But until he is, save it for after the season. That's my comment. My question is, you guys are talking about coaches who might come here, right? Mm-hmm. Why would any coach want to come here when you got the GM always looking over his shoulder? And, I look back historically. I've been a Cowboy fan since the mid-'70s up here in Packerland. And you look at it historically over the last probably 20 years, maybe 15, but they've had coaches come in here and been handed talent. And it seems like the common denominator all the times is Jerry Jones just can't just step back. I think Jerry's learned a lot, actually. I remind Packer fan friends of mine up here all the time that he's built this Cowboy team the right way through the draft, and he's been, probably maybe even too conservative in getting free agents. But I just struggle with, first of all, just the commentary of just burying Mike McCarthy.
Do you expect Mike, as a Cowboy fan, do you expect Mike to come back or be back?
Bryan, I'll tell you this. My answer is this. He brought back Jason Garrett when Jason Garrett far underperformed what Mike McCarthy has done.
So you think he'll be back?
I think it's 50-50, Bryan. I really do. Because when you think about it, you guys are talking about like Mike Bravel and all that.
Yeah.
Jerry will bring him back because he knows Mike will toe the line just like Jason did.
He would have to sign into a contract extension. So, would Mike come back for, less than 5 years?
Well, I think, Brian, you bring up a really good point. What coach would want to come to Dallas? No. I mean, seriously,
one that's out of a job like Mike McCarthy was.
But the problem with that, Brian, there are going to be a lot, as you know, there's going to be a lot of openings with teams, with general managers and owners who are not going to meddle and let them do their job. So you can talk all you want about replacing Mike McCarthy, but I think Jerry will make a decision based on the fact that he knows Mike's going to do his job. He's not going to create waves.
He has to extend him. You think they're going to extend him?
I don't know that, Brian, but just the fact that.
So you're calling him. The problem you have with us is we're not respecting Mike. That's what you're saying. The crux of this call is you're saying we're not respecting Mike. That's the crux of your call. But are you happy with Mike as your head coach?
Based on the fact that Jerry Jones is the general manager and the owner, okay. Yes, I am. Because I don't know of any other coaches. I don't know if a Dan Campbell comes in here and coaches the Cowboys, right?
Well, I think Dan Campbell definitely would have taken this job.
You're happy that he's your coach?
Yeah, I am. Because I think part of the problem is you paid a quarterback elite level money. You got to remember when Mike was in Green Bay, a lot of those Packer teams were a little bit above average, but they had an elite quarterback that won them games. This year, to me, has proven that Dak Prescott, in difficult circumstances, is not an elite quarterback because he's not been able to win them games.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you there, Paul. I mean, I think that you could look at the play caller, who is the head coach, and also put some responsibility there, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and with all due respect, I know you're based in Wisconsin. Packers bleep can McCarthy mid-season.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of respect shown there, and he won them a Super Bowl, what was it, 6 years prior?
Named a street after him.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and not a lot of coaches have been able to win 12 games in 3 years. And Mike is probably now having to deal with the frustration of 30 years without even getting to an NFC championship game that this fan base now has. And that's not all on him. But he's also been destroyed in some playoff games. The Packers won most notably. The other two, he's an offensive guy. And the offense didn't play well in losses to the 49ers. So you have to go back and look at that. And in a season like this, the way it's going, we got to talk about it. What else are we going to fill a 3-hour postgame show with all due respect? I'm not going to blow smoke up fans' rears and pretend like this thing's salvageable and it's good, because it's not. And you bring up a good point with Dak. I get it. Now, Dak's here. Dak's under contract. But I can't tell you this offense would have looked any better today with Dak Prescott. And that's a sad thing to say. I shouldn't be having to say that. I should feel great about having a franchise quarterback right now, but the team wasn't playing well offensively with Dak. I don't think it would have been nearly as bad, but I don't know how many more points they would have put up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if you feel like we're being a little too, end of the season, maybe that's the time to have the conversation. This is the Dallas Cowboys. The conversation's going to be had. Yeah. It was being had after
I think
the
you
loss
make really excellent points about McCarthy and his tenure at the end with Green Bay.
I mean, they ran him out of there.
Yeah, they did.
All right, we will wrap this thing up. We'll look around the league, 877-881-1053. If we're not able to get to all of your calls, I apologize. We'll try on the other side. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100 years, Pollock Aurora has been taking...
Brought to you by Jack Black. Want to use with the pros? Use Jack Black. Is the official skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Great game for Overshown. 11 tackles and 2 sacks. And he even noted postgame could have had maybe a third. Good news is after he left the game with a knee injury, he said he felt great postgame and that he should be ready to rock next week against the Houston Texans. But goodness gracious, DeMarvion Overshown seems to be getting better and better every single week and is quite the defensive assassin. I mean, when you add his speed and athleticism to now kind of being able to read and react and diagnose from the linebacker position, scary upside for DeMarvion Overshown. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. Here's Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus, and we'll try and get to a couple of these last-minute calls. We've got about 10 minutes left before we wrap up, and I do want to do a scoreboard update. So for those of you we aren't able to get to, I apologize. Let's go out to Frisco. We got Hakeem calling in. What's going on?
Hey guys, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You know, one of the things I'm noticing, and Bryan, I really want to get your opinion on this. When I look at guys like Tolbert, who is an average receiver, but he's asked to do something I don't think he was very good at, and that's blocking. If you look at the second play of the game, there was a screen, and if he makes his block, CD is going to break free. And I've seen multiple times they're asking Tolbert to do something that he's just not good at, and his block depends on whether the play is successful or not. More than likely times it's not. So to me, I'm like, why are you asking this player to do something he does not do well? And if he can't, that's fine. But he's not good enough of a receiver to say, hey, I got to put him out here because he's just that great as a receiver. And to me, that comes to either scheme, that comes to either I'm just being hard-headed, but that's a perfect example of them not being successful. So, Bryan, can you just give me your opinion on why? Why is he being asked to do that? And I think other people have to do the same as well, whether it's Schoonmaker or even Ferguson. So have them do things that they're good at. Don't have them do things that they're bad at.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate you, brother.
Or thank you, Hakeem. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't think, that to me, the Cowboys play with a lot of width in their offense. And so now you're asking guys to do things, especially when it's blocking on the backside or it's blocking, the screen stuff is, they're just not, he's just not physical enough for that stuff. I've seen him do some of the crack toss stuff, just not been able to kind of get in the way. I mean, for a tall, long guy, he's just not, this wide receiver room does not block particularly well as is. They just don't do it. But I think a lot of it has to do with the width that they play with their offense. These teams that play condensed, the 49ers, the Rams, you get blockers, you get receivers that block because they're part of
tight
the
formation.
Tight of the formation.
Yeah.
You play wide, you put these guys in space, and they can't handle those things.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the screen game, too.
Yeah.
They're having to cover a lot of ground, and the timing just seems to be off as well. We're trying to execute that. All right, Anthony in Greenville, South Carolina. What's going on, Anthony?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just had a question. I hear the guys talking about Mike McCarthy and his job and everything. I think about the last 30 years that they hadn't been to the NFC Championship. And my question is, if I could ask Jerry Jones, in the last 30 years, with the same records you had throughout all this time, how many general managers would you have fired in that period of time with the records that they have been having? That's my question. Thanks for having me, guys.
I can't tell you how many fans, when we've been out and about, have said the same thing.
The general manager would have got fired. I know from my experience, I came here in 99.
Mm-hmm.
The general manager would have got fired in probably 2002. Maybe if we'd have had 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, those 5-11 teams, 5-11. The 8-8 teams that were involved.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the one year where Romo got hurt. Was that 15? That was the year before
the 15th
Dak.
season, and then they ended up having the 4th overall pick. I think that was a 4-12 team.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to kind of get a gauge of how many times you would have probably fired a general manager.
I think 6-10 in 2010.
Yeah, that was McCarthy's first year. Or no, not
that was the Wade firing.
The Wade
year,
firing. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Halfway through.
That's right. Yeah, I was thinking of 2020 is when.
Yeah.
So
but 2020 was Mike's first year. Absolutely.
I think the 5-11. I think the 5-11. I think those 5-11 teams for sure. The general manager would have been fired.
Okay, last call. Let's go to Bob in Austin. Bob, what's going on?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Bob.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Bob.
Go ahead, man. What's up?
Okay, real quick. Okay, I got two things here. You tackle Marty Smith, defense, and then your offensive tackle from Oklahoma. As a coach's staff, are they disappointed in these guys, or do you think that they missed on these draft choices, or what? What do you think?
I think they're disappointed in Schoonmaker at the 2nd round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're disappointed in. There were some questions, and I've heard this today with Brad Sham when we interviewed Brad at the very end, talking about Guyton. And Eric Chiafalo and I talked about it in the pregame, that there's some questions about Guyton is that knowing the difference between being hurt and being injured. And that the young guy has to kind of figure those things out. You as a young guy, you have to figure out, hey, are you able to play and play through it, or are you really injured and you can't do it? So that's something I think. I don't know if it's disappointment, but I would say that Mozzie, there's probably some disappointment in Mozzie, and there's probably some disappointment right now in Luke Schoonmaker, who's playing far less and less as we're going along this season.
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on Tyler Guyton, though, overall. I mean, we've seen some strides and improvements there, but that's a great point and an interesting topic there from Brad. Appreciate everybody who called in tonight, 877-881-1053. If we weren't able to get to you, we'll do it again next Monday, and we appreciate you here on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus. Quick update, Sunday Night Football featuring the Houston Texans, who will be coming to AT&T Stadium for Monday Night Football. They're up 23-7 on the Detroit Lions as that game is in the third quarter, about 12 and a half to go in that third quarter. Apparently, they've been pressuring Jared Goff at an extremely high rate. I saw Next Gen Stats at 48% of Jared Goff's dropbacks in the first half. He was under pressure, so that pass rush is something that we're going to have to be very aware of from Houston. Joe Mixon's got an 8-yard touchdown run. They did have to settle for 3 field goals after some long drives. And then John Mechie, the third from Alabama. What a great story. Cancer recovery for him. C.J. Stroud found John Mechie, the third, for a 15-yard touchdown to put them up 23-7 right before the end of the half. And it appears that David Montgomery just had a 3-yard rushing touchdown for the Lions. So they're cutting into the deficit 23-13. That one is pending the extra point right now as the Lions try to rally in Houston to come back and beat the Texans. In the division, what a loss it was for the Commanders at home against Pittsburgh. They hit Zach Ertz for what appeared to be a first down near field goal range as they were down 28-27 at home against Pittsburgh. He was ruled short. They reviewed it. Most of the time, the ruling on the field is going to stand. It did, and then on a fourth down, Pittsburgh comes out. It's 4th and 1, like they're going to run a play. They draw the Commanders offsides. They jumped, and that essentially gave Pittsburgh the first down they needed to run out the clock. So the Steelers knock off the Commanders on the road 28-27, putting them down to 7-3. And then in Germany, early this morning, the international game in Munich, the Panthers beating the Giants 20-17. That game went to overtime. You had a fumble by Tyrone Tracy, the running back, that set the Panthers up in field goal range immediately at the start of OT. So the Panthers improving to 3-7, the Giants falling to 2-8. By the way, the Tankathon listeners out there, Cowboys right now projected to have the 11th overall pick in the NFL draft if the season were to end as it did today. Patriots getting their third win of the season, 19-3 in Chicago against the Bears. It was a sack party today for the New England Patriots as they were just running all over Caleb Williams. He could not do anything. He's running for his life out there. Bills improved 8-2. They knock off the Colts 30-20 as Joe Flacco continues to struggle. You got to wonder, do they go back to the youngster Anthony Richardson after he tapped out of the game? But Joe Flacco the last 2 weeks has not been very, very good for Indianapolis in those losses. And you brought it up earlier. Chiefs remain undefeated, 9-0 at home. They block a game-winning field goal try from the Denver Broncos, 16-14. They hold off that upset to get the win at Arrowhead. Big win for Kansas City. They're undefeated. They're flirting with perfection. Saints rally with Darren Rizzo, the special teams coordinator, now the interim head coach, 20-17. They beat the Falcons, who, of course, beat the Cowboys a week ago. Big game for Bijan Robinson on the ground, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling, the former Packer and Chief, and now he's with the Saints, ended up with 3 catches, $109, and 2 TDs. Niners get a game-winning field goal as time expires to beat the Bucs, 23-20. They improved to 5-4. Vikings, after 3 interceptions from Sam Darnold, just barely held off Jacksonville 12-7. Chargers at home beat the Titans 27-17. They improved to 6-3. Will Levis was back. He did have a couple of touchdown passes for Tennessee in that one. And then how about the Cardinals? Sitting at 6-4 atop the NFC West, 31-6. They beat the Jets at home. Things are not looking good for Rodgers and the Jets as they fall now to 3-7. But what a story. Kyler Murray, 22 of 24, 266 yards and a touchdown. I think he completed 15 straight passes at one point for them. So a brilliant game for Kyler.
Yeah, kind of some division winners, unlikely division, well, not division winners, division leaders.
Yeah.
When we thought about Minnesota, or we thought about what's going on with, Arizona, and now with the Commanders. I think Philadelphia's probably a half game up right now, but with the Thursday night meeting coming up, so should be a good one on Thursday.
Well, and you brought up a good
teams.
point. With the Eagles, we're kind of able to rest in that fourth quarter.
They were, and that is the fact that and Cowboy fans don't want to hear that, but if you're an Eagles fan, boy, I tell you that that's good news that you didn't have to play your guys in that fourth quarter and give you a little bit of opportunity there.
Well, a big thank you to you, sir, for all your hard work as always.
You as well.
Ruben did a fantastic job out here engineering. Peyton Russell back in Master Control. Ross Lipinski doing his thing as well back there, pulling highlights and audio for us. Justin Honore as well, getting the job done. We'll be back next week. It'll be a Monday nighter, pregame starting at 4 o'clock, and we'll rock with you until 1 a.m. against the Houston Texans. Hugs and hand pounds, everybody. Until next week, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey Cowboys fans, the Bahamas is calling. Start planning your ultimate getaway today at bahamas.com/cowboys. From Nassau's vibrant culture